welcome to episode 6 of Super TurboCast. I'm your host, Virgil Davis. Joining me tonight, as always, my good friends. He's down with the sickness, Justin Carter.
Hello.
I have nothing for you today, Kyle Eastman.
It's turbo time.
It sure is, Kyle. And our special guest, who's not so special anymore because he's already been here, but the bearded prince, Justin T. Fatiller.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic, man. How's it going with you guys?
I'm good. I'm super turbo good. You know, like just...
Groovy?
You're aight?
I'm
aight.
I'm really good because I'm here with you guys.
Right. I like having Tief on. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, man, I'm groovy.
What a nice
Had some
man.
Taco Bell. So
Had some Taco. Had way too much Taco Bell.
got ye old gullet full.
I always get way too much Taco Bell every time.
Yeah, it's a Taco Bell. It's so cheap though, dude. Like, I walk out of there like a king, and I spent like $6.
My thing, I got 3 of those sliders was like $6.
Yeah,
I always
ridiculous.
basically see like, okay, how much do I want? I'll get one more.
Like,
basically
how
I
are
do
people
it.
still starving when you can get like this huge burrito for $1? Like,
For-
those
for
Frito
real.
burritos are $1, and they're massive.
I don't know how they make money on them.
Yeah.
I don't either. I
Well,
don't
they were
get
out of fire sauce. Super Taco Cast?
This is Super Taco Cast.
STCs.
Yeah. If this is your first time listening, Super Taco Cast is a gaming podcast about video games and things. We talk about the news, and then we go into kind of a general overarching big topic that is either user submitted or picked by us, otherwise. But let's get right into that there news. First up, Rock Band 4 is a thing.
All right.
Because we needed that, I guess. Even flow. Or no, that was Guitar Hero, wasn't it? Wasn't that Guitar Hero?
Let me think. It's Guitar Hero 3 or Rock Band 1. It's one of the two.
I think it was Guitar Hero. Anyway.
Oh, no.
Nope.
I'm 99% sure, and I'm going to Google it. I think
Okay.
it was Rock Band. No.
I think it was
No,
Guitar
it was Guitar Hero 3. It was totally Guitar Hero 3.
It was.
Yep. That was the only song my sister ever wanted to hear me play. And I was like, I'm going to slit my throat. But I did it once, so she
You don't like
won't
that?
quit griping.
You don't like that Pearl Jam? Also, that's not funny, dude.
No,
That's
I'm not a fan of ass metal.
ass metal. Whoa. You kidding me? That's our favorite kind of metal here at Super TurboCast. Am I right? Or am I right?
I do not condone
That's-
these comments of liking butt
That's
rock.
accurate.
It's really accurate. Rock Band 4 is coming to Xbox One and PS4. Kyle, you have more info on this than
Yeah,
I do,
yeah,
so
I actually,
give us the whole rundown.
Okay, here's a lowdown. First and foremost, Harmonix, of course, the same people that did it before, are releasing it, but they are releasing it independently from what I can gather. So,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's kind of the big thing. That's why it's so different already. And I was reading on it because see, the old ones was published by EA, but EA Games EA Games. I'm drunk. I clearly just said that.
Clearly drunk.
MTV Games. MTV had a big hand in it as well. And so apparently, like I watched like the YouTube video where it was them talking about them announcing Rock Band 4 and their goals for it and all this other jazz. And they were saying, again, we're not meaning to be mean about it, but there was a lot of pressure from MTV Games that changed what Rock Band became was completely different from what we wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. So one of the main things that they touched on, and I hope that this is how they go about it, is that they plan on releasing Rock Band 4 and not annualizing it, not releasing one after the other, and they're just going to continually update it and
my
release
favorite
DLC.
thing.
Well, and here's the best part. Most of the DLC you've gotten for Rock Band 1, 2, and 3 will still work.
Yeah.
Which is awesome as well. I mean, I've got a little bit of that DLC, which is great. Now
Right now, I know they're in the works to try to get the all your old instruments to work, but the PS3 and the Xbox 360 used a different kind of wireless technology that the PS4 and Xbox One uses.
Yeah.
So they're in talks with Sony and Microsoft to try to maybe release like an adapter.
Right.
But that's not.
Yeah,
confirmed
and
yet.
we'll see. But the other thing, there a lot of the songs from I don't think any song from Rock Band 3 or the Beatles Rock Band are going to be compatible because I think at that point is when MTV Games came into the thing, and so they're having licensing issues with that. And I think that's how they were able to get such wide games is because of MTV.
Yeah.
But again, I love the fact they're like, hey, your deals. They're trying. You can tell they're legitimately trying on this. Mad Catz is making the peripherals. The keyboard controller is out. So it's just going to be guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. Mm-hmm. But they are, however, bringing harmonizing vocals that they introduced in Beatles Rock Band, which is amazing. I think that's great too. Everybody really got burned out, and I think they touched on this too. They're like, man, we wanted to wait until the time is right, and I've noticed it too. Demand for Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
People have been coming into the store like crazy, like, hey, you
asking
guys
for it,
have,
yeah,
just begging
absolutely.
for it.
Yeah, and they were saying that they were waiting for a while because they had put so many out, and then that they actually started getting feedback from their fans.
Yeah.
And fans were like, where is it? It's time.
Yeah.
So they took that and they're going with it.
Well, they said pretty much everything they touched on that entire video was like the fans said I kept hearing the fans.
The fans.
Which I think is great, and again, the fact that they don't have a big studio behind them pushing them to do all this crap, I think that will definitely help. The instruments look great. Like I said, Mad
I know
Catz
there
is
are
making them.
pre-order bonus.
Yeah,
stuff.
if you pre-order it in the whole bundle, you get red instruments, and then they showed a black and a white instrument, which I'm only assuming is probably the white goes for either PS4 or Xbox One, and then the other one will go to the other. I couldn't imagine them releasing, excuse me, all, if you pre-order all 3 colors for both consoles, that would be a mess.
Yeah. So my question is, who here is going to buy this? Anyone?
At launch, I don't know. It depends on pricing. Because I know even back in the day, like a whole Rock Band kit was like $200.
Yeah, I think that was a big killer a lot of times, especially when you had to re-buy these.
Yeah, but even then though, like they've even said, and they've always been that's one thing that Guitar Hero and Rock Band always got right, except for initially they kind of hit a bumpy road, then they patched it all. But is the compatibility. Rock Band stuff has always, for the most part, worked on Guitar Hero and vice versa. And I'm sure that Activision is probably working on a new Guitar Hero anyways, but I'm sorry, as far as the full band experience, Rock Band's always done it better. Now, Guitar Hero did it better when it comes to like just the ridiculous guitar parts.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Guitar Hero started losing it, is when they tried to, we got to beat Rock Band, let's get the whole band. No, just stick to the guitar and do it. Guitar Hero 3 was great. I mean, I still think Guitar Hero 2 was the best in that series, but especially, again, the 360 version, it was aces. But I have severely digressed here. Forgive me.
You're good.
But it looks really good, and you can tell they're not trying to put in a bunch of extra fluff and junk. On the DLC thing...
well, real quick, I wanted to see if...
I'm sorry.
You're
Are
good.
you guys getting it?
Any interest between you two, Justin and Justin? J squared?
I do have an interest in it. I've always liked Guitar Hero a little better. I just felt
Me
like
too.
there's little details in it that I just kind of liked a little better. I mean, do I think that Guitar Hero is a better game than Rock Band? Probably not. Actually, no, I don't.
Yeah.
But
I can count on one hand how many times I played Rock Band. Like,
yeah,
I just played the crap out of Guitar Hero.
Well, see, that was my thing, is I played both extensively. And Guitar Hero's way it handled drums and vocals was crap compared. Now, again, it's
I stopped
guitar
playing
is by
before
far
they
the
ever
best.
got to even like the drums.
Yeah,
and-
Rock Band on what was it, World Tour, JC, or on what was the Guitar Hero when they did that had the
Guitar
whole
Hero
band?
5 was World Tour, I think.
No, World Tour was 4.
World Tour is a
Was
separate
4?
entry.
Okay,
There's-
that was the one that they introduced the entire set, and
Yeah.
especially the drums. And Rock Band's setup for drums is so much better.
I just, the thing with the drums, and the thing that, again, for Rock Band, I bought the whole kit of Rock Band when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to a point where, okay, the drums, you have to blast your TV in order to be able to play the drums, because all you hear is that clank, 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 clank of the pads and everything, and it's just really annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just quit playing the drums because I felt like I was going to blow the speakers out on my TV. And then I was like, what am I going to do with this drum set? Because it's just this big piece of plastic that I have to house somewhere.
Yeah.
And
That's like the necessary evil of those games, is you have to have all this plastic shit everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And a place to put it all.
yeah, and the guitar is so easy to store, especially the newer versions of the Guitar Hero controller, because you could take the neck off and then
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
It was really easy. Now, also, JC, on your drum comment, of course, I bought Rock Band 1 at launch, and that was really bad. But when they announced Rock Band 2, and they're like, hey, the drums are now wireless, which I hated the long USB cable on the other ones. But they also said that they made the pads softer. So Rock Band 2 and 3's drums were 1,000,000 times better at that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you were just clanking a stick up against a thick pad. It was almost, it absorbed it. So it really wasn't any more than it was very, very improved. They also reinforced the kick pedal, because I broke my kick pedal twice. In fact, I broke it, sent it back, I broke it again, and like I mentioned before, my dad came and bailed me out and made and reinforced the pedal with his own pedal, and it was awesome. But now it's reinforced with steel. So, and I looked on this new hardware, and the pads are really thick, and they were incredibly responsive too on Rock Band 2 set. So all the improvements they've made, they're bringing into this drum set. So it looks like that's going to be something that's going to be really good for that series.
I will not be getting it. As a big of a gamer as I am, I actually don't really get into those games.
Never.
I've played them. they're quite enjoyable. I see why people love them so much. And between all my friends, because we are mainly gamers, somebody has it, and it comes down to the time when you go over to hang out with somebody and we have a little get together, a little party. Yeah, I'll jump in and play it, but it's just something that I don't tend to buy and own.
You don't see yourself like owning it.
Right. Exactly.
I feel like Smash is a lot like that too. Maybe not so much this one, but before there was always one person who had Smash that you went over to play it, with them.
Yeah.
I think that's a reason why I liked Guitar Hero better too, especially Guitar Hero 3. That was one of the only games that I went to like a midnight launch for. That's how excited I was for Guitar Hero 3.
You know what's funny about
that?
I did that with Guitar Hero 3, and I did it with World Tour.
Did you?
Really?
I was very disappointed in World Tour.
I bet.
The only midnight launch I ever went to was Call of Duty Black Ops.
Oh,
wow.
Yep. But I live in Ada, Oklahoma, so we don't have the coolest.
Yeah, I understand why people like those games, especially as a music lover, but they're challenging. When you really increase the difficulty, I mean, they get tough.
Especially like the drums on Rock Band. Like that.
See, I love it, dude. I love it. And that's the thing, too, is I'm sure out of us, I would probably be the one that would buy it, and I would love that. Because, again, I like to have the get-together games. We get together at my place pretty often, and I really enjoy us having that experience. And, dude, this is how crazy I went on Rock Band. Rock Band 1 and 2, a vast majority of the songs, I got to the point to where, and again, we were talking about this earlier about how like open the PS3 was about mics. I actually had the PS3 USB headset that went around your head, for like chatting. The PS3 version of Rock Band would let you use that. So I had that on, and I would sing and play drums, both of them on Expert.
Nice.
Yeah, and actually scored pretty well. I got a lot of trophies from it back in the day.
I never got Expert on like Guitar Hero. I got to hard, but
I did never... at one point.
And another thing for me is I physically have a hard time playing the guitars because when I bend my pinky, my ring finger bends with it.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for me to play those games. So it gets very frustrating for me too.
Right.
My pinky locks up after a while, and that actually affects me playing actual guitar. When I play a lot of times, my hand will get to cramping up, and it hurts. So again, for me, that's why I love the drums so much, is that I don't have that holding me back. But again, I do Guitar Hero 3. My cousin lived with me for a while, and before we went to bed every night, we would have a battle on Through the Fire and Flames on hard. At that point, we weren't quite on the Expert, but every night, and we would battle on to see who would sleep on the couch and who would sleep in the bed.
That's awesome. I don't know that I'm gonna get it. I think I'll do the same thing, that I will wait to see who in the group gets it, and then play it. Then,
yeah, I probably won't get it at launch, but I'll probably get it at some point.
And for me, the songs matter a lot.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see the song again. Songs and pricing, which again I have some awesome. Excuse me, I don't have a lot, but the songs I do have, I really enjoy. DLC songs.
Mm-hmm. I think you're going to find songs that you like anyway.
The DLC catalog is nuts. How big it is.
Yeah. So even if on disc songs you don't love every single one of them. I mean, the chances are you're going to like a third of them.
Right.
And then you're going to find something new. That's one of the beauties of these games too.
There are a lot of songs that I found through Guitar Hero 3 that I like a lot.
And that was the thing I was going to mention on DLC earlier. If you are getting the Xbox One version, if you want your DLC to come up, you had to have bought it on Xbox 360. Same way on PlayStation. Like for me, I bought the DLC on PS3, which I'm getting on PS4 regardless when I do get it. So Sony stays on Sony, Microsoft stays on Microsoft. So for those 360 guys that converted, it won't happen. But it does. It does absolutely make sense. The part that does get me, though, is at one point for Rock Band 2, you could get the DLC, and you got it, and you imported in all the songs from Rock Band 1 into Rock Band 2. So again, I doubt that they're referring to that DLC in particular, but if they did, oh my gosh, that would be like the definitive. And that's what I liked about Rock Band compared to Guitar Hero is that Rock Band always really acknowledged the previous releases. I mean, by the time it was all said and done in my Rock Band 3, I had every single song from Rock Band 1, 2, 3, and all my DLC.
Like it all carried over?
It all carries over. Yeah, you just put in you hit the thing, and then you plug in the disc, and it'll import them all into the thing, and it's fantastic.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So do you think that Activision's going to make a Guitar Hero
Yes,
now?
It's Activision. They're going to.
I really don't. As much as I love Guitar Hero, I think there should not be two of these.
I agree.
These things.
I think
this is one instance where competition does not help. I think it just weakens both.
I think it's okay as long as Guitar Hero goes back to one of the running gags I think about Guitar Hero, especially when 3 came out, was that people started calling it Score Hero.
Right.
Because it kind of became more of a competitive type game.
Yeah, it was a score attack for sure.
Which Rock Band never was, and
No.
everyone knows that, and it's fine. They can both exist as long as they don't try to do the same thing. Activision needs to go back to making Guitar Hero more rock based and more just really difficult. No, I'm not saying every song needs to be Through the Fire and Flames difficult, but just
and do the same thing as Rock Band 4. Release one.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. If they do it to where they try to annualize it, I can't even say it. Like,
See, you can't even say it.
I can't say it either.
English
if they try to
language is
annualize it, like that's not going to work. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
again,
not.
that's where I love the fact that this is being released independently by the studio. Kudos to them. And like I said, I think they've got the right idea. I mean, you could tell that they were like, look, guys, we know that y'all got really burned out. We got burned on it too. We think that we've got a good plan to fix these issues and still have these very fun, and they even said, man, these games are for when you get together with your friends.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
I think Guitar Hero will be a good thing. I think they should probably wait until after Rock Band is out.
Yeah,
for a
see
little
what
while.
the
Let the
market
craze
does.
die
Yeah.
down, and then once everybody's got their feel of that, then they pop up with Guitar Hero. And
Yeah.
I think.
What was the
it'll
last
go
number? Guitar Hero 5 or was there a 6?
Did they do a 6, JC?
they did. Well, technically, yeah, because they did Warriors of Rock.
That's
But I mean,
right.
was
Warriors
there-
of Rock
was there
was
like
the
a
last one.
numbered 6?
No,
No, 5 was the last
is
one with a number.
Five is really good too. If you haven't played that,
I almost
one,
thought about getting it again because I've been missing those games like a lot of people,
Yeah.
and
Again, that proves.
I don't think 3 has trophies, or else I would have gotten 3.
yeah.
Dude, that and even like GTA 5, it proves. Like, dude, if we got a GTA every year, they wouldn't sell like they do. You know what I mean? The fact that we got GTA 5.
That's why GTA sells like it does, because there's so much time and effort that goes into those games.
Exactly.
But these things are going to continually exist. Grand Theft Auto
Right.
5 comes out, and then that's it for a while. I mean, you're going to get a little bit of DLC and stuff, but
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to announce a DLC pack, which
these-
they probably haven't yet because of heists and the online stuff, which is a
Yeah.
great way to,
these
to put
DLCs
that out there.
for Rock Band, they're going to be like, I'm assuming they're going to be like a weekly, monthly
Yeah, like
thing.
they used to. Yeah.
it's
That'd be
gonna-
awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rock Band 4, it's a thing, and I'm kind of excited,
I am.
to be honest. Surprisingly, I didn't think I would be, but the more I think about it, the more I really miss playing with plastic toys.
Yeah, well, and again, this is the last I'll say about it, but again, after watching that video and it was interviews with them and stuff, you could just see like that game looks pretty genuine.
Yeah.
And they again, when they announced it, I was like, oh great, but then I saw where it was independent, and I was like, okay, I can dig it.
The Rock Band guys, they seem to be more savvy to music. I mean, I'm not saying that the guys at was it Neversoft that makes the
Yeah,
Guitar
they're too
Hero
busy
games?
making Call of Duty as well.
But
Yeah.
I feel like theirs is just more pressure to put out a game, especially when Rock Band really took off. They tried to mimic it, and that's what really killed it. I think. Again, go back to being for the more competitive, hardcore, if you will, crowd with Guitar Hero, and I'd be really excited for that.
Yeah.
Next up, Bethesda reveals Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. The standalone prequel to 2014's well-received alternate history shooter will be available May 5th for $19.99 US. You and JC, Kyle, have not played Wolfenstein, correct?
Nope.
No, I haven't.
It's a really awesome game. Justin, Tief Tiller, I don't know why I'm calling you Justin. That's really weird.
Call him
Tief.
Teeth.
Tief, yeah. Well, I introduced him as Justin, so I keep calling him Justin now. Tief.
You can call me whatever you want.
I'll call it. That sounded great.
Call
Teeth.
you maybe.
God. You played the game. You liked it.
I did. I liked it.
I played the game. I really liked it. I thought it was a very awesome return to like how first-person shooters kind of started. That classic, no regenerating health, all that stuff. It's very good. But this will be just a standalone $20 like prequel to the full $60 game, and I think this is a really smart way to do stuff like this because I feel like for a full $60 game, I don't think it would have sold nearly as well as just a $20 downloadable prequel, to it. And I'm really excited about it.
I think the price is very, very smart move.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know that. So it's basically like a larger type DLC.
Yeah, it
in
is.
a way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
it's probably going to be, I don't know, I imagine maybe 4 or 5 hours. Maybe,
So as long as Call of Duty, so it'll be good.
Yeah. So I think this is really interesting because I feel like we don't see these kind of things very often. That's why I wanted to talk about it today.
Yeah.
It's just I think that more companies should start doing this kind of thing because I think that these kind of that middle ground between what you would call just a downloadable game, and then the $60 game, the AAA game. I think that is the future of some of these niche series like Wolfenstein. You know, if they made another Wolfenstein game, yeah, it probably would have sold okay, but I doubt it would have sold nearly as well as the first one because it's a prequel and.
Right, and and I see what you're saying. Like they already put all the time and money and effort into the engine itself, so all you have to do is develop.
You got all these assets,
right?
to use.
Right, I think that studios too are trying to. The market has changed. We talked about that, and I think they're trying to find ways to go. Okay, what can we do to not only make money but to make something that people want? And it's like, yeah, I would love to, and I haven't played it yet, but I've heard, really good things about it. But it's like, I'm sure by the end of it, you're like, man, I wish I could play just a little bit more of that. And instead of waiting a couple years and here's another big AAA sequel that, costs a ton of money. Hey, here's a prequel. It's, 4-6 hours. It's DLC on steroids. It's like you said, kind of a mix between that downloadable game, DLC for $20. It's like, dude, for $20 and it's a prequel, I'll probably just buy it before I play the game.
Here's what I think they did right with that then. Again, I haven't played Wolfenstein, so I don't know anything about that. But I'm assuming it is a full-fledged game, right?
Wolfenstein,
it's not like you got half a game and now you have to get
it was
this
a very
to
fleshed out
you
experience
felt
for sure.
you felt satisfied when you played that game. Okay, so they're doing all this right in a way because you have a full game, and then it's not like a month later when they're like, "Oh, here's the DLC."
Or like day one,
like we actually decided afterwards, let's develop this.
Yeah.
It's the same. Properties, but that's fine. Same engine and whatnot, right? But
it should be.
Yeah. I think that's what's cool. Like the fact that it's not immediately, hey, here's this thing that we just thought we'd do. It's like, no, you've been doing this since you were developing the game, and you knew you wanted to keep this out of the game and then release it for more money. This seems really genuine in the sense that it's after they made the game, they're like, I really had fun like making that. And
let's revisit
I want to make
it.
some more. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
even if they always had plans for it, the fact still remains that the core release for this was a full-fledged game.
Right.
It wasn't something half-assed. That's the way these things should be. I mean, and I think that's what developers are starting to explore is more in that digital space. And maybe that's something that other people need to take note of is release a full-fledged core game and then build around it afterwards. And that's how you make money because, the problem these days is that games cost so much money to make, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's where all this DLC comes in. But instead of trying to give people a half-assed game and then milk them with DLC, bring out the a complete package and then make DLC for it to extend the life of that game. You build up enough money and make a sequel.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't like this new trend of new games coming out and then they're promising you DLC. Go ahead and get the season pass too.
Evolve had $100 plus worth of DLC on day one.
Wow. Golly.
Like it was insane.
See, and
got a lot of
there's
a lot of controversy.
That feels like an unfinished game. If it's like, oh, we're going to give you some more stuff later. I mean, that's a nice little prize. Thinking that, oh, well, if I invest in this game, it will have more content later on. But still, especially like with Destiny, a good example. I felt like it was an unfinished game.
Yeah.
I was getting just a piece of game. Wolfenstein. And to the listeners and to you guys who haven't played it, I really enjoyed the game. I think it's good. Though, if you do go to play it, because this prequel is coming out, bear with the prologue.
The beginning of the game is very bad.
It's a little drawn out, and it's not as good. But once you get into the main part of the game and it opens up, it's quite a ride. It's very enjoyable.
The problem with the prologue and surely that this is something they have to have seen like after they release the game, because it's the number one complaint of almost every review is the game takes forever to put a gun in your hand. Like
right.
It's just the prologue isn't that interesting. It's not very fun. But once you do get a gun and you can really get into the game, it's great.
Well, I mean, I'm a fan of Final Fantasy 13, so I'm fine with a slow opening.
You wouldn't even mind.
Yeah. I love those 20-hour tutorials, man.
Oh yeah, they're the best.
But a lot of people won't invest in games too now because of this new trend of promising DLC later. Is because, I'll just wait for the complete edition to come out in 6 months.
A Game of the Year edition and stuff like that. Yeah,
I just don't like that. It's a bad move.
Gross. I agree.
Yeah, I don't even think they shouldn't even touch computers to start making DLC until their core game has been released.
Yeah, and like you said, JC, that why are you spending time on stuff that's not even coming out yet? Maybe they should spend the time on developing the game first that they're fixing to sell in a week instead of working on things that aren't going to come out until months later.
Yeah.
And I get that like making games is insanely expensive and games are cheaper than they've ever been. But there needs to be it's a very thin line between just being really, really gross with DLC and making that money that you have to make to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
Like $100+ of crap on day one, that's gross. That's not okay.
Who was it? Was it Capcom on like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or something?
On the disc.
It was on the disc, and the DLC just unlocked it.
And they get a lot of flack for that. That is a very common thing. The more and more I download games, it's like, this DLC is only like 20 kilobytes. That's weird. No,
right?
It's on my game, and I'm just being sold a key to it. You know?
Yeah, and
that
I get that.
To me, that no part of that is acceptable. There's
Yeah.
nothing about that that's okay.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's like back in the day, you know, you had like, and for whatever reason, fighting games are really bad about this. Oh, unlock 99 cents, here's this color or costume or whatever. And it's like, to me, one of the cool appeals of fighting games is like unlocking those new
stuff.
characters. And dude, I remember going through Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and going nuts over it on original Xbox. Man, loved it because it was like, man, you went through and each thing you did, you earned coins, and you took those coins and went into the store. And each time you went into the store, it was something random that was different. And so there'd be times where you go in there and you're like, oh man, there's that character, I totally want them. Man, there's 50,000 coins, only have 45. And you go back, earn the 5, and go back, and it's somebody different. You're like, oh, but that one's cooler. I'm totally going to spend it. And you get them, and you go back, and then that other person's back, and you're like,
content in game is something. The last Mortal Kombat that was released in 2011, they had something
9?
called Mortal Kombat 9 technically, but they call it just Mortal Kombat because it is just a reboot.
Right.
But they had something called I think a previous entry had it too, the Crypt, where you would go in, and you would spend the coins that you earned while fighting. And then you had to open random crypt, like graves. And then you'd get something, you'd get a piece of concept art, or you'd get a whole new fatality or a new costume.
yeah, see, that's so cool. That's exactly how Marvel vs. Capcom
But see,
did it.
in Marvel, did you know what you were buying?
You did know what you were buying.
Because
yeah.
in Mortal Kombat, it's just the coffins,
random.
right? You don't know what you're getting. So when you opened it, and wasn't there even characters?
Yeah.
there was
That's how you
characters.
unlocked characters too. You
Well,
had-
see, in Marvel, you had 6. There were 6 items. They were in 3 squares, 2 rows, and it would be like stages, characters, colors, soundtrack, concept art. And again, each time you would go into the story, it would be something different. Mm-hmm. It was just a really unique concept because there was still that random factor. But then again, it was like, ooh, man, I know what I'm getting, and I'm, you don't get cheated because you're like, man, I spent all that money and I got a blue color for Cyclops. It's like, no, I went and bought, this character.
And talking about Mortal Kombat and DLC, Mortal Kombat 10 is already doing that trend too. They're making you pay for the DLC, or not making you, but if you decide to pay for the DLC is it characters?
Yes, they already have DLC announced for Mortal Kombat X. But here's the thing about that though, because I've done a lot of research on that game, and hopefully one day we'll talk about it as that release date comes on. But this pertains to DLC. That's why I want to talk about that real quick.
because I know that there's been some like character announcements recently, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
who
well,
they
they're
were
still
really.
revealing characters that are actually in the game on
Johnny
disc.
Cage.
Johnny Cage just got
I
announced.
figured you'd like that. I tried to squeeze that in there
I know,
for you,
thank
buddy.
you. Oh,
Hey, we're
fanboy.
not an anti Mortal Kombat podcast.
Just anti JC. That's okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm all about that JC.
Thanks, buddy. Mortal Kombat X. They have announced a 4-character DLC pack for that game, but the game ain't even out yet, so that's kind of like, oh, what
is
the
it,
hell?
Killer Instinct?
Yeah, once again,
Okay,
you're not
listen.
giving me the whole package. Yeah, go ahead,
JC, do you have something to say?
I do.
Hit me with some knowledge.
The game on disc, if they deliver on everything that they say they're delivering on, that game is feature rich as it is. You're getting a complete experience on disc when you pay $60, because you're going to get, of course, the core fighting game experience. You're going to get online features. Again, we'll talk more about that, closer to release date. But just trust me when I say that if they deliver on everything that they say, that game is going to be a complete game. So in that instance, I feel like it's okay to go ahead and say, hey, we're going to have DLC too. You can pre-order and play as Goro, which means if you don't pre-order, you're probably going to have to pay to play as that character.
I hate pre-order.
I'm not.
But-
I don't hate that just for the fact that I think they handled DLC really well with Injustice. I think that that studio with the DLC characters they did announce had a lot of thought into them. There were some really neat ones. Yeah. So
Scorpion
hey,
should not have been in that game.
No, he shouldn't have. I agree. But then again, it's like we do Mortal Kombat. Here you go. But it made no sense.
I mean, for a DC game, there were so many DC characters that people wanted, and you wasted a slot on Scorpion.
But NetherRealm always. That's the thing about NetherRealm is that they always like to
they
play with their
love
audience
Scorpion.
and toy with their audience. You know what I mean? They like to do those kind
I
of
feel
things.
like a toy.
You had Freddy Krueger.
You
in Mortal
are
Kombat.
a toy.
Now there's rumors that there's going to be either Predator or
I've heard about that Predator stuff.
or Spawn even.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
we want that again. Yeah, that Spawn.
That's okay with me though. He's an awesome character.
He's cool.
What a
is an
sucky
awesome
time to have an Xbox, by the way. Like,
Thank you.
GameCube. So yeah, GameCube got Link.
Yeah.
You got what was his name?
PS2 got
Heihachi on
Heihachi.
PS2.
Heihachi, and you get Spawn.
I played the Xbox version, and
Yeah, I did
Spawn
too.
was a beast.
Link could still kick his ass.
No, he wouldn't.
Link.
Yeah, he
How
would.
cool! That was so cool. Anyway.
Dude, and he looked. That model was so good.
It was. It looked awesome.
Spawn would have killed him.
Real quick before we move on, you know how these days I see these like pictures all the time of like, it's like if Pokemon was like a modern mobile game and it was like pay such and such to get more potions or like in the App Store or whatever. It would, like,
Yuck.
make fun of like how mobile games are today. I booted up WWE 2K15 with my friend. The bags is what we call them, and we didn't have all the characters unlocked. But in the store, you could pay like $1 or $2 to unlock everything, and I was like,
on the PS4 version.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that makes me want to throw up.
and I was like, am I about to do this? Because I did not want to play this whole all this I did not want to go through the trouble of unlocking everything. It's a game that I just wanted to play some matches for some fun with my friends.
Right. My deal with that though is like you should make the game good enough to make me want to go through and unlock that stuff. Then just be like, here, give me $2 and I'll give you everything.
Right.
That's like the parent that's like, oh, you want some cake? No, you can't have cake. But I'm just kidding. You can have some cake. Just give me $2.
I
No, I want to earn that cake.
Did you take the cake?
I did. I took the cake because I'm like, I was
Add the
actually
card.
really happy. I was
I mean,
like,
don't get me wrong. For
this
like
is awesome.
for $1 or $2, that's not bad.
I just want
you
to
know?
play this game with my friends. I want to use Batista, who that is not Batista in that game.
So what you're saying is you're basically these days you're paying for an engine that can run a potential game, but then you got to pay to actually unlock.
to fill it out.
Last thing, I could have played the game, but I'm too lazy to play the game. Like play out like all the story mode and the other bullshit in that
Right.
game. I just wanted to play some Hell in a Cell singles matches or whatever with my friend and use any character I wanted, any stage, any whatever. And I think stuff like that is actually really cool.
I see your point now. That you've explained it.
Oh, that
And
World of
I've-
Warcraft where you can jump up to level 90? You can pay for that now?
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new thing.
Wow, really?
You
Yeah.
can
So
pay-
if
Go
oh
ahead,
no,
Kyle.
no, please go ahead.
I don't know all the details on it, but from just what I understand is you can pay in your character. Is it level 90?
Something like that.
You can just pay money and
See, that's kind of gross.
And they're also
That
doing
is
a thing where
terrible.
you can use
Especially like multiplayer games, that stuff is not cool.
yeah, and they have a deal now where you can use like your in-game gold to pay your subscription if you
That
have
is
enough of
awesome.
well, what a slap
That
in the
is
face
awesome.
to all these dedicated World of Warcraft players that have worked so many hours into getting their character all
What would
the way
Leroy
up.
say?
What would he say?
He would say, "At least I got chicken."
I do think I heard about that though. The being able to use your in-game gold
Yeah.
to pay for a subscription. That's cool. It's kind of sad how that it just feeds into itself. But
Right.
It is pretty cool. Like that's. A
I'm
neat
sure
feature.
that exchange rate is some ass too, though.
probably.
I bet it has to be like.
I wonder if it's one of those things
You
that
have to pay for 5 more subscriptions in order to mine enough gold for one.
That game is so crazy. You can buy characters off people.
Yeah,
People
I wonder
make-
if it's one of those things that's like, yeah, you can do it, but no one is
Yeah,
ever.
people
gonna do
make money doing that. They'll level a character up and then sell them to another player.
it. World of Warcraft. That's basically that.
Wow.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, though, Blizzard, they do have the best mindset when it comes to developing games. They just say, as always, it'll be done when it's done. It'll be released when it's ready. And that's what, I feel like all of them should do. They shouldn't feel the pressure of getting things out on time.
Well, that's the thing. Blizzard doesn't have to Blizzard is Blizzard, whereas a lot of developers have publishers. It's like holding a gun to them. I feel like and like, hey, we need this game. We need it
we
now.
just gave you
Give us a date.
$4 million to
Yeah.
get this thing out.
And the same thing with Valve. Like they
do not care.
When will they release Left 4 Dead 3? Who knows? When will they have Half-Life 3? Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe never. But whenever.
You just got to evolve. Isn't that the same people?
dude, it's like
Yeah, well, I mean,
With $100
it's
of
not
DLC?
Valve, but it's the same developer who developed Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah, but my deal with that is like you guys are developing a VR headset and this controller and all this stuff, and it's like I get that would probably do more for them in the long run if that hardware takes off. But it's like you're again, like you said here a while back with a 7 remake or even 6. It's like the moment you make Half-Life 3, Left 4 Dead 3, Portal 3, you're literally printing money.
Yeah,
it's, especially Half-Life 3.
I feel like Half-Life 3 have been 3 or 4 versions of that game at this point. Like I feel like that thing has been in development for so long and has been canned multiple times.
I think it's stuck in development hell. I really do.
I feel like it'll happen though. But
yeah,
I feel like that game has just changed dramatically over the years. And I think with them announcing Source 2, we're getting closer, hopefully.
I think so too. I think they want.
I care more about Left 4 Dead 3 than anything, to be honest, because I've played the first Half-Life. I need to get to 2 and episode 1.
2's awesome, dude.
You played those?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
they're amazing.
Sweet. I've heard they're great.
Yeah.
Do they age well?
Yeah, surprisingly well.
I played the original Half-Life and not the Source version, like the
the
OG
Doom.
one, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was surprisingly
If
good.
you did, go play Half-Life 2.
I need to.
Just hit pause.
Just
Go
go
do it.
right now. Go
Yeah.
do it right now. So, next up, Metal Gear Solid 5 finally got a release date. They have Konami has revealed that Metal Gear Solid 5 will be released on every platform but Wii U, pretty much, on September 1st, and then 2 weeks later on PC on September 15th.
Now, is that they're getting PS3 and 360 versions as well? Wow.
Yeah. Pretty much everything but Wii U. Yay.
Okay.
And it's also going to be the last game in the series, apparently.
Yeah.
The quote exactly is, let's see. Kojima said, quote, "In that sense, this will be the final Metal Gear Solid," end quote. Kojima continued, quote, "Even if the Metal Gear franchise continues, this is the last Metal Gear," end quote.
That makes no sense.
Not sure exactly what that means. I feel like that has got to be some kind of translation thing, or Kojima being Kojima, who honestly knows.
He said a couple times though too, like, "Oh, this is the last Metal Gear game."
And he even, I have another quote here where he's pointed that out, but he says that, quote, "I always say that this will be my last Metal Gear, but the games in the series that I've personally designed and produced, Metal Gear on MSX, MGU2, MGS1, 2, 3, 4, Peace Walker, and now MGS5, are what constitute a single Metal Gear saga. With MGS5, I'm finally closing the loop on that saga."
I think
So
that's
he
what
feels
he's
that
saying is like this is the last Metal Gear that's going to be part of my Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Metal Gear. Which he's what, 50-ish?
Something. I know he's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you've been doing this for 25, 30 years. You're probably, I know that's his baby, but
I'm sure he's ready to get out of here.
yeah.
But
He can just put his name on anything now and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he doesn't need Metal
He'll
Gear.
become Michael Bay. Dear God, please don't.
I'm okay with that.
Chief, I know you're the only Metal Gear fan here.
I'm
at the
a
table,
big
really.
Metal Gear fan. I think what he probably means by that is this is gonna, like he said, he's gonna close the loop on the saga, which is probably gonna be the last story. He's gonna wrap it up for Snake is what
I think that'd be good.
is what I'm thinking. But I don't think that the Metal Gear universe itself is just going to
end here.
Right.
I feel like that's too big of a cash cow.
There's too many fans,
for Konami
and like
too.
you said, yeah.
What else does Konami have? They have Yu-Gi-Oh! And Metal Gear. I feel like that's it.
They used to have Zombies Ate My Neighbors. They need to bring that back.
Oh, that would be
Well,
rad.
how many? Okay, because Metal Gear is an old franchise.
Mhm.
It dates back to NES.
Yep.
Yes.
Correct. So it's really old.
Yeah.
How many other franchises have been that long?
Final
That's
Fantasy.
third party.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy.
Castlevania.
Mario.
Castlevania, kind of, but even that's
does
not
Mario
too
really
relevant.
count?
Well, those
That's
are
like a
all
first
separate
party.
stories. But Metal
Yeah.
Gear's been a continuing story
Right.
since whenever the first
Yeah,
one was
as far as, like, a
released in the
continuing
late 80s or
story,
something.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't-
Yeah,
and
see,
that's what he says in his quote. This is going to wrap close it up for the saga.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what makes Metal Gear, I think, unique in this. I'm sure there might be another franchise out there that's had that kind of longevity with the same story arc.
I don't.
Resident Evil.
but-
Again, maybe Castlevania. That's the only other game I can think of that would be like
but
that.
even Castlevania has different. The entries are different, like,
Right,
I mean,
but it's
they go
still-
back to different Belmonts here and there, but
It's still the same universe, though, and even like what was the Curse of Darkness, the one on PS3, 360? Is that right,
Yeah.
Chief?
On PS3, Lords of Shadow.
Lords of Shadows. Sorry,
Wasn't
Curse
Curse-
of Darkness was on original Xbox. Yeah, Lords of
What
Shadow.
was the I guess it was Lord of Shadow.
Even
too.
it went into and explained a lot of that, Dracula and why the Belmonts are involved with it, and blah. I don't want to spoil anything, But again, that's the only other game I can think of that's even remotely close to that. But I mean, Metal Gear is a very focused story. It's a saga.
So I can't blame him for something that's been going on for 30 years. You know what I mean? To be like,
Yeah.
It's done.
So, quick spoilers for Metal Gear a little bit. I have never played them, but when I was kind of researching this, I didn't realize that MGS5 will explain, and I found this incredible. I found this so fascinating. This will explain how Big Boss, the protagonist in 5, becomes the antagonist in the very, very first Metal Gear on NES.
Great.
Like, the fact that loops around to that blows my mind.
So
That
Metal
is
Gear 5
amazing.
is a...
It's a direct sequel to Peace Walker, which is a direct sequel to Metal Gear Solid 3, which is a prequel to the Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 4.
Like, the protagonist in 5 is the antagonist
Heard it here
in the
first.
NES game. And this is going to show exactly how that happened.
Okay.
That is so cool to me. Like, I wish I hadn't missed out on these games, because I feel like it's a very hard series to get into if you miss them.
I feel like they have more prequels to Metal Gear than they do actual forwarding the story.
I mean, has every single one, except, like, after the first one, hasn't all the others been kind of... Or
2
how's
takes
that
place
work?
after 1.
2
does? Okay.
And 4 takes place after 2. 3 was a prequel.
I don't even know how
Peace
that
Walker
story
was a
works.
prequel. Phantom Pain 5 is a prequel.
I think it's because they left a lot cryptic in the beginning, and now they're having to go back and explain.
Yeah.
Well, that story
lot
is
of
extremely rich, though, too, man. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, a lot of characters, a lot
You
of
can't
motivations.
even explain it to somebody. They
Yeah.
have to
That's what I've
experience
always
it.
heard. I want to go through it. I really do. I think I will one day. If
I have the HD collection, and I've heard from multiple
I
people.
bought the HD collection with the intent of going through it. If they would just put Twin Snakes on PS4 or something,
Yeah.
that would give me the perfect
Well,
opportunity.
and I think I'm going to go through Twin Snakes. I think I'm going to do that. And I might even work backwards. I know a lot of people said, "Oh, don't do that," but it's like I am so out of the loop on Metal Gear
I know nothing.
that I've
about
tried 2 and I've tried 3 and I tried 1 years and years ago. That those games control very differently, and the mindset is very different. That it takes a little bit to get used to. So I feel like if I played a newer version that's more refined, that maybe I could get like some of the general ideas of what they're wanting me to do and go back. But I've pretty much already decided I will never go through and play 3 Snake Eater, because like I played it for about 3 or 4 hours, and it's like, dude, you're constantly having to jack with your camo and then your rations and junk like that. It was a drag. But 2,
micromanaging.
what I played, I really enjoyed 2.
See, I really like 3. I thought that the camouflage was a really neat aspect to it, because you can change it to regarding your scenery, and that makes you harder to be detected by enemies.
Right.
But that is one thing about Metal Gear games. The controls are very wonky.
Yeah.
They take a little while to get used to. I played the Ground Zeroes, and I'm so excited about this Phantom Pain, because they fixed a lot of their controls, and it's going to be a big upgrade.
I can't wait.
With the first one, I want to get into the series, and Kojima has said constantly that he wants to remake the first one. He said it constantly. And he recently stated a few weeks ago that he wants to remake the first one in an open world. So if that ever came to fruition, that would give me the perfect like entry point into the series. And then I could go from there to the HD collection.
When you say first one, do you mean like
Metal
Gear
Gear
Solid
Solid.
on PS1?
Yeah, the NES ones will never be revisited.
No.
Are they even part of the canon?
Yes.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
there's
that's what I was
scenes
saying
in Metal
about-
Gear Solid 4 where Snake is like having flashbacks, and it overlays with like the NES game.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh my gosh! Now
That's what I was saying
play
is about 5. In 5, you control Big Boss. Like, that's the main... Granted, I don't know who the hell that is. Like, I know very little about
Well, he's a boss, and he's pretty
he's
large.
pretty big, yeah.
And you play as him in 3 in Snake Eater.
And Peace
that
Walker, right?
5 tells the story of how he becomes the antagonist of the NES game.
Okay.
And
Cool.
that's so
It's nuts.
cool to me that loops around like that.
Yeah.
Snake. That's it for the news, though. So next we're going to go into our overarching topic, our big topic. This week it was submitted by our friend Toad.
Woo!
On Twitter, and not like Toad.
Toad?
Yeah, Toad. Nope, not that Toad. An actual real life Toad. He's a cool guy. He's from Canada. He's at VideaToad if you want to follow him on Twitter. He's a cool guy. I like him. Remember, if you have any questions or topics you want talked about on the show, you can tweet at Super Turbo Games or me or Kyle. Not JC because he's lame, and Teef either because he's lame too. But yeah, you can tweet at us. Any questions, anything you want talked about on the show. His tweet, as I pull it up here very smoothly.
I'm gonna make a Twitter. I just
Do it.
Dude, you totally should.
I'm going to. But since I'm usually a guest on here, I didn't think that it was a big deal that it didn't happen.
Nah.
Dude, Twitter's so much easier to manage compared to Facebook. Like, there's no BS. You know what I mean?
It's very clean. There's
and you're following somebody, they don't have to follow you, and vice versa. And it's really good for just really quick staying in touch with like
it's great for
movies
news
and
too.
games and like stuff that you're into. It's really easy to keep up with like your interests on Twitter. So I really enjoy that.
I'm looking for the tweet because I'm. Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, tweeter.
Dude, somebody finally threw us a tweet, and you're trying to find it now. I got to catch it.
Threw us a tweet. Okay, so Toad said, discuss your top 5 games from last gen. Bonus points if it's a cross-platform list. Toad, I assume you mean like if we have multiple games from multiple platforms. If you mean like top 5 for each console, that's way too much for us to do. Because we had enough hell just picking our top 5, or at least I did.
You did.
I really did. For just last gen, we... PS3, 360, and PSP and DS.
And we.
I said we.
You did?
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go back.
Get
and
that shit out of your
this.
ears, JC.
Oh, oui.
Oh, oui. Anyway, who wants to go? Who wants to? The way we're gonna do this is we're basically gonna go around the table, each say our number 5. Basically, we'll start at a person. They'll say their 5, discuss it, then go to the next person, and we'll go up to our number 1. So,
okay.
Who would like to go first? Any volunteers?
JC,
hit me with that number 5.
Did I volunteer?
That Mambo number 5.
Yeah, hit it, JC.
Yeah.
You did. I heard you volunteer. I heard you talking.
Mm-hmm. All
Did
right.
you volunteer?
Yeah,
I'm scared. Okay. Top 5 last gen games for
and
me.
Real quick,
Just
we
number 5,
know
though, right?
none of each other's. We have actually our number
We might have an
ones,
idea of 1
Yeah.
or 2, but that's
but
it.
so these are all pretty.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay. Number 5 for me is going to be Uncharted 2: Among Thieves. It's on PS3 and on PS3 only.
hopefully 4 eventually. That'd be rad.
It would be a whole collection of the first 3. That'd be really cool.
That would give me an excuse to go through those games again.
Yeah. So I don't get any bonus points for that selection, I believe, because it is exclusive. Anyway, Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. It was the first game that I played on last gen that actually wasn't even just the first game. It was the only game that I played of last gen that that initially wowed me. It was the game that made me feel like I am here. I am in the next generation of gaming. I could not believe how cinematic that game was while being interactive.
It was mind blowing, dude.
The other time before Uncharted 2 that a game did that to me was Super Mario 64. When we jumped from 2D to 3D, that blew my mind too. You know, I was looking around the TV like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know you had camera controls, you know.
That was such an interesting time. People were just trying to figure shit out.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It was like a whole new world.
A brand new place.
Uncharted 2 made me feel that way again.
Yeah, it did me as well, man. That was a.
I think that's a
believe
good
it.
comparison. It's Mario 64 to Uncharted 2, because I feel like for that generation, Uncharted 2 was just this whole package.
Here's what we're capable of.
I mean, the PS3 had been out for a while when Uncharted 2 came out. In fact, you know, there was an Uncharted before it.
See, and I was very amazed. I remember like playing Uncharted 1 and like calling my dad in here and be like, "Dad, look at this." And my dad came in and he was like, "Man, that looks neat." And before you knew it, my dad sat down and watched me play that whole game.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. I just really couldn't. The other thing the reason why Uncharted 2 makes my list is because it was the last time Uncharted 2 had a multiplayer component, and I played it. And it's the last time that I've played an online multiplayer from last gen that had that quote-unquote classic loadout type feel. Like, you know, with Call of Duty, you know, coming to prominence, you know, with the loadout type stuff, Uncharted 2 didn't have loadouts. The weapons were out on the map, just like a classic
like
shooter
Halo 2.
would. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you had to go out and find them. You had to know the map and know where the weapon you wanted was, and had to get there first. So that totally changes the feel of a multiplayer game when you don't get to pick and choose what you want in the beginning. And all that combined with the fact that the campaign was just floored me.
Still to this
That's why
day,
it's
one of
my
the best
number 5.
campaign in a game.
Yeah,
It was
I
so
still
good.
feel like it's my favorite Uncharted story. Still,
Yeah, I think it's my favorite of the Uncharted's.
It's my favorite for sure of
Yeah.
the Uncharted's.
Just
Yeah.
the set pieces and stuff that went on, and It was just that, again, we were talking about Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2. I don't feel like it was as drastic, but man, that game was a true sequel. Like, I can still go back and play Uncharted 1. In fact, I'm like 2 trophies away from platinum, and I need to just grin and bear it. But man, 2 was so good. So incredibly good.
Yeah. So that's my number 5.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game. It's not. I don't have an Uncharted game in my top 5, but it's definitely one of those, and it's an honorable mention of one of the
For
best.
sure.
Yeah, mine as well.
They are all so good, and I think 1 gets a more.
It gets a bad rap.
Yeah,
dude.
it's not. It
I
doesn't
loved
get
it.
a bad rap as a bad game, but it gets a bad rap as like a clearly lesser game, and I kind of disagree with that.
It's just because it's difficulty.
I loved I feel like no other game had that. Like some of them had some supernatural stuff, but 1 like laid.
Dude,
that
it got scary
It
quick.
did.
It got
One had
terrifying.
straight up mutants in it. Like,
Yeah.
spoiler, but I mean, that's what they were.
Exactly. It genuinely scared me for like a good
Yeah, it was a little creepy.
20 minutes.
Dude,
That
when they
game was
pulled
a
Eddie
survival
Raja
horror
down,
game.
you're just like, oh my god.
Like when you were in that like dark room with a flashlight and you had to like, I feel like you had to turn something on or something.
yeah, you had to turn on like a light or a generator or something.
So it was scary, and
I mean,
I think that was really cool about that. Like it fused. All
I
these
think
different
that
things.
area of Uncharted, I think that influenced the Last of Us. I really
Yeah.
do. Like, it felt very Last of Us.
Yeah, it did. Uncharted 2 did have it doesn't match that scene in Uncharted 1, but when you're being stalked by the Yeti, I mean,
Right.
at the time, you don't know what that is. You don't know it's a dude in a suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, holy shit, they're doing it again. They're going.
I was expecting
full
it too,
supernatural, and there's a dude in a suit, and I'm like, okay.
And
And the dude was like a crazy dude in a suit,
Yeah.
but
And I liked
Yeah.
the supernatural in Uncharted 2 because it was like they were like eating that tree sap or whatever,
Yeah.
to make them all like jacked up like on PCP
they're so
and shit.
they're such
It was actually just PCP.
That's all it was. It was blue magic. Oh, it's that blue.
that blue.
Breaking Bad. They were Breaking Bad and Uncharted 2 up in Tibbet.
They're such like movies, like in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. They really are
Like
just
action movie.
these villains.
I remember that commercial. Remember that when like the girlfriend comes in and she's like, "Honey, are we gonna watch that movie?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's got like the controller underneath. And he's playing Uncharted
Yeah.
2. She's like sitting there eating popcorn.
Was that the when like they had the what was his name? Kevin Butler. Was that?
I think it was around that time. Yeah, that was such a brilliant marketing time.
It was so good. That I think that helped get the PS3 back on track a lot.
Oh yeah, without
Yeah.
question.
Did you
That dude's awesome.
kind of to go on a tangent? Did any of you watch the E3 that he came out for?
No, dude, you totally asked us this on the last
Did
one.
I? Oh, did I?
You
Okay.
totally did, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah,
It was awesome. That's all I'll say.
amazing. Me
don't
telling
remember-
somebody we've already talked about.
Yeah,
this.
that's
It should be
weird.
the other
Usually
way
you're the
around.
one who
yeah.
forgets
I know
stuff.
it.
I really bring that up.
Yeah,
You did.
Wow.
you totally did. Teef, what's your number
Yeah,
5?
Steve, hit us with that. Sick 5.
My number 5 is Portal 2.
Ooh, yeah.
And mainly Portal 1 I loved, of course, but it was part of the orange box, and it really wasn't even supposed to be a game. It was just something they were like experimenting with, and ended up people were falling in love with it. So when Portal 2 was announced, I was immediately sold because they improved and made the graphics so much better and the gameplay so much more fun, and then you had this awesome villain in the first one. So that game for me, mainly because it didn't make me think like that game made me think differently than any other game has ever.
Yeah.
You have a totally different mindset when you play that game.
Yeah. And it had a good story. That's
It
what's
did,
amazing
yes.
is it actually had some good storytelling.
Just you talking about the game because it's been a while. Just it makes me smile.
Right.
I love like you talking
So
about
much character.
Yeah, you talk about an amazing villain. GLaDOS was
Mm-hmm.
so awesome.
One
Yeah,
of the top
just-
of all time for sure.
Oh, without question.
I remember what made me play Portal was I was heavily invested years ago into like IGN's top villains list because I thought, well, Kefka has to be number one, just of obviously. And GLaDOS, this
Yeah.
this robot beat Kefka and like all these.
Well,
other
what
ones.
was Kefka on that list?
He was pretty up there. I feel like
He was like 7 or 8.
yeah. I was like, okay,
Oh, I was kidding. He was really that high. Up?
no, he was pretty high.
Wow. I figured. He'd
I
be
want to say like in
five.
top 5, yeah.
Oh, he was top
Yeah, yeah.
5. Oh, okay, good.
But I'm like, she's got to be awesome.
Yeah, because it wasn't like Ganon and Bowser like 2 and 3.
yeah, something like that.
I mean,
And GLaDOS was-
understandably,
yeah.
just because of the.
And this robot thing.
and
Was
at that
number
time,
one.
Portal 2 was not out.
no, it was just Portal.
It was just Portal 1. And that's what blew my mind about that.
and I was like, okay, I got to play this game. And just the amount of, as you said, just the character and just the writing and everything.
the
about
writing
it
in that
was-
game is, dude. That game. That's one of the few games that's actually made me laugh out loud.
yeah.
It was so good.
And Portal 2, I feel like it builds on 1 in just every way. I forget the actor's name, but the portrayal for Wheatley was
Oh
brilliant.
yeah, I can't remember his name.
Spoiler alert. So if you haven't played it,
Yeah, spoiler alert for Portal 2.
He is an awesome villain.
Yeah,
He is. He's so good.
So like for those games to put, not it being the same villain, putting it, 2 games out and putting, and because the main character, you don't even, they don't have a voice. You never see what
Valve
she
really
looks
likes
like.
their silent protagonists.
yeah.
So in order for them to put a game out that is successful as it is and not even have technically a main character was quite impressive.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact, like, with Wheatley, what made him so great was, like, he was a personality core made for GLaDOS to make her always make the wrong decisions, and yet throughout the whole game, he made the wrong decision, including waking you up to resurrect GLaDOS. Like, that's just brilliant on too many levels.
So
And the
great.
dialogue, there's never actually a conversation between your character never speaks, so it's the whole time pretty much a monologue between
just a one.
besides GLaDOS and Wheatley's conversation, but like I said, just the way that game just totally makes you think so different. It's quite.
And the moment,
mind-blowing.
the thing is, and this was something that I love about puzzle games, and I'll talk about this on my next game, is it's not necessarily, with puzzle games, it's not the fact of, like, it's not beating the puzzle, it's for that moment when the light bulb goes on, you're like, oh, I know how to solve it now.
Yes.
And that ability, like, oh, I know how to solve it, and then it's really frustrating when you try to do it and it doesn't quite work. And it's trial and error, and that's what makes puzzle games so much fun, and that's what I loved about Portal.
And just from putting out the first one and seeing how people really fell in love with that game, and then taking that and making it a whole nother experience with 2, because they added a lot of new features.
Yeah.
And just for them to really take care of their fans that way was very prideful for me.
It was.
The fact that they were able to build on this small, relatively short, really cool puzzle game into this huge backstory. Going through like Aperture Laboratories
Cave
through the
Johnson
ages. J.K.
brilliant.
Simmons in that game
so brilliant.
was amazing. Just the fact that they were able to take that and expand on it in the way they did and do it so well. Just
dude, to this day, one of my favorite lines in that game is, yeah, okay, say goodbye, Carolyn. Goodbye, Carolyn. She is a gem. Like, I will never forget that. Like, I was laughing, and to this day, like, me and Kelsey will do this. Like, if somebody does or says something stupid, we'll look at, she is a gem. Like, we'll still say that. It's so much fun.
That whole subplot with GLaDOS, like,
oh,
God.
dude, how hard. She's like, goodbye, sir. And you're just like, the feels, dude.
That I could not say a single negative thing about that game.
No.
I think that game is a 10.
The
Just
physics,
easy.
the physics are even really, really.
Yeah, with
cool
the ooze
about
and stuff, and like, dude, the first time I saw that ooze come out and splatter, and I'm like,
And the way
dude,
that was presented to you was perfect. Like, it showed you without any, like, having to tell you exactly how it works.
Exactly.
It showed you how it worked.
that's
Yeah,
so.
and launching yourself across, rooms and just falling through the
Dude,
portal.
And how many times GLaDOS calls you fat?
Yes.
I love that. I love. Oh, you must
The
have broke
game,
that path.
the boss just talks crap to you the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's quite entertaining.
And that ending, too, with you. Like, it was
the
so
last
beautiful.
boss fight, yeah.
Dude, not only that, when you're going up the elevator and then you go up there and all the turrets are pointing out, and you're like, oh my god,
When
I'm
the song
so
starts
screwed.
playing.
So the final
And-
boss is ever present in the game, like while you're playing.
Pretty-
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So that's totally like almost different than other games where
There's
It's
no
really
other. There's
interesting.
no other enemies. I mean, there's turrets.
right. But you don't really. I mean, you can
that's the
take them
one-
out, but it's not like it's a big fight. You
Yeah.
know?
That's like the one. She pretty much just follows you and heckles you the entire time.
Have you not played it?
no.
You need
Oh
to.
my gosh,
JC.
we gotta stop talking spoilers then. Yeah.
I could tell since you weren't saying anything. I figured, and I know you said that, whatever with spoilers, but
Yeah.
Well, because I
two,
said the
you do.
spoiler because you don't know that he is the villain.
Well-
Because he's there to help you in the beginning
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Portal 2.
But that happens
and
pretty early on too, though.
It's
it's a little
About
ways.
midway through, probably. But JC, both of those are on Steam on your Mac. You can totally, and they're like, dude, they're always on sale.
And
Like,
both are technically on PS3, too. Which,
yeah.
I mean,
they're on PS3, but JC doesn't have a PS3.
It's so
though.
rewarding. I mean, you don't get new weapons or items or anything, but once you, like you said, you figure out the puzzle in the room.
That light bulb.
It's just like
Love it.
It's an amazing feeling.
I've never had a game that like I did something like that and I felt so accomplished.
And-
well,
and-
I've had a few like that, but man, it's just that feeling is irreplaceable.
And the co-op is really enjoyable
Oh.
too with the two.
See, no,
two
I haven't-
robots.
I haven't gone through it, so I
It's
know
a
that it has a pretty good
whole
story.
another
too.
game. It's a lot shorter, but it's a.
I want to go
thing.
through it eventually.
It gives you a whole nother view on the game because now you have to try to get 2 people out of this room, and it's not as easy as doing it with one.
Yeah.
So
It
your
gets
character
frustrating.
isn't one of those little robots?
No,
In-
you're in the single player. You play as a human.
human.
In
It's
the,
like stuck
in
in
the
there.
co-op, you play as the.
I think I
robots.
remember. I remember when that game was coming out and they were showing all the ads for it.
Yeah, it was all
I
those
didn't-
robots.
I didn't see any humans. It was
Right.
all the
Yeah,
tall,
yeah, it
skinny
was always-
robot.
That was for the
and
co-op.
Oh,
Valve
Yeah.
is just fucking incredible. Like
They are.
They added co-op to the game, and it was amazing. They added all these new elements. They added a meaningful story. Just everything about that game was perfect.
Again, a true sequel. You know, they did everything right, and I'm with you, Virgil. I can't think of a negative thing to say about that
Like,
game. It
and
was
I'm
so
not-
good.
And I'm not even just saying that. I cannot think of a single thing.
No,
Not a single
I like you
bad
said,
thing.
I had a smile on my face throughout the whole game, and it was one of the few games, like I said before, made me, bust out laughing.
Yeah.
Not just like, just like had to pause the game, like rolling at stuff. That game is genuinely some of the best writing I've ever seen of any type of anything. It's brilliant. And again, because there's so few characters in that, there are 4 things, I believe, that talk: GLaDOS, Wheatley. Oh, I guess 5. GLaDOS, Wheatley,
Carol, was it
Cave
Carol?
Johnson, Carol, and the turrets.
Yeah,
That's it. Oh, and the personality cores. Huge shout out to Nolan North
for the first
for
one.
voicing the personality core. Space. I'm in space. Space. Be
Just
cool.
real
Space
quick
cops.
before we move on to your 5, I feel like
Space.
on that true sequel thing, the Portal was well received in general, the first one, but had no story really. It
No
was
space
too
story.
short,
Short space.
all these things, and they took pretty much anything negative you could say about the first one and just like Portal 2 is a
And
good
fixed
length.
it.
They
Yeah.
fixed it, yeah.
It was like 8-9 hour I feel like campaign. It was a pretty
It
lengthy,
was,
Yeah.
it was a little lengthy, yeah.
but like in a good way, you know.
It was the
And-
perfect length of a game. It really was. And
When-
not only that, like those challenge rooms are mind-bogglingly hard. Like, and you're like, oh, dude, I remember this. This no sweat. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, no, this is a lot of sweat.
But
Anyway,
that game was just a very feel good game for me, and that's really what when I was making my top 5 was what game really made me feel different emotions, and that one was definitely one.
we're at an hour. So
Hey,
let's
let it roll.
Yeah, no, I'm letting
Let
it roll.
roll.
Let it roll. What's your number? Your number 5, Kyle?
Guys, my number 5 is Catherine.
Oh, Yield Catherine.
Yield Catherine, which is why I mentioned earlier about the puzzle game.
Now I'm gonna have to say, no spoilers, of course. Cause
Yes, no, I will not spoil anything just because this is a game I know a lot of people haven't played, and I don't want to spoil anything. But that game is the Dark Souls of puzzle games. And I'm not kidding you. That game is very difficult. It's very, very, very difficult and very punishing.
Don't let Kyle fool you.
Teef is a godlike gamer, and I don't want to
Don't-
hear it. You have godlike abilities,
He had
my
to
friend.
put it on easy.
Actually,
Didn't you
no,
put it
no,
on
no,
easy?
no, no, no,
You
no.
told me you put it on easy.
I went through the entire game until the very last level, and I thought, like, oh, it'd make the puzzles easier. So I bumped it back to easy, and all it did was, like, take out some of the traps. And I'm like, I could have totally beat that on normal. But I'm getting ready to go back through that
whatever.
game again. What's cool, though, you have 7 different
You
endings,
played it on easy.
depending on how you go about the game.
You're not even a real gamer.
But my thing, thank you. I just think Catherine was excellent storytelling, and it's one of the most unique games I've played. You had like kind of the dating. It wasn't even like I don't even want to use the word dating sim, but it's from
Those like elements.
right. It's from the Persona team. You guys thought y'all were gonna get out of this without me saying Persona. Too bad. But it's from that same team, and they really used a lot of those elements that they learned about with the. By the way, with the too bad comment, I hope I didn't blow your ears
No,
out
you're
for
good.
our.
Can you see it there?
No. Yeah, for our headphone users. Sorry, guys. 5-star on iTunes, please. But anyways, all the stuff that they learned from the social aspects of Persona, I think melded really well in Catherine. And without that game, I would have never enjoyed Persona like I do. But anyways, the you have the daytime stuff that's going on. And the evening, I guess I should say, where you're meeting with the woman, and everything. You're visiting with her, and then you're having, you're going out to the bar with your friends and drinking and talking about your issues, and you're making these decisions. And that game, its decisions really affect things, and then at night is whenever the puzzle scenes happen. And what I really enjoyed about that was, man, they're really difficult. It's one of those. It's very simple to understand, very difficult to master. And the other thing I thought was cool is after each one, when you reach the top, there's a poll, and it'll be like, do you think that it's okay to cheat on somebody that you plan on marrying, yes or no? And you can answer it, and it
a lot
actually
of moral stuff in it.
Yeah, a lot of moral stuff, and they tackle a lot of stuff that people aren't comfortable about talking with head on. And what's cool about that though is once you answer that question, it actually will show you the poll of like everybody that's played that game, the percentage of what they answered, which
kind of like The Walking Dead, where it's like
kind of like that. Yeah, a lot like The Walking Dead, which I thought was super super awesome. But man, the characters were really likable, and that game was just a lot of fun. And there were so many times like, dude, I would get so frustrated, but the moment you reach that top thing, it was so good. Troy Baker voices the main character. Laura Bailey voices one of the Catherines. I forget who voices the other Catherine, but Akihiko's in it.
Oh, nice.
The dude that voices Akihiko, he plays
Nice.
one of your good buddies. Man, it's so good. It's just like I said, it's a game that I will say with Catherine though, you either love it or hate it. Again, because of its difficulty, it's definitely one of those people. Everybody I've talked to about it that played it either was like, man, it's one of my favorite games I've ever played, or man, I hated it.
I'm definitely going to get to it soon.
It's really good. I played it.
I really do feel like we should do some backseat gaming.
That'd be
on
cool
it.
with
I
that.
think it'd be so much fun.
And Kyle was building up how difficult it was, so to just pretty much despite him, I put it on hard, and
You
it
got through it?
was hard.
hard?
I got through it. There was, I'm not gonna lie, and I have no shame in saying this, there was a few times where I had to YouTube a couple parts because I could not figure
See, now
out.
that was one thing I didn't look up
No.
anything, and I wanted to go through that game without looking. There might have been a boss battle. Come to think of it, there might have been
Kyle's
a
better than you. Then.
Yeah.
Basically.
There's parts of that game. That game isn't really scary, but there's some parts that are
It's
freaky.
a dark game.
There's some.
Yeah.
I've seen some weird shit. in
Yeah,
that
no,
game.
it's a weird game, but man, I enjoyed it.
You'll probably hear me say it 100 times tonight because of you guys going over your top 5. Just like I said with Uncharted, it's one of my top 2. It's not in my top 5, but
Yeah,
because it's such a unique game.
it's one of the most unique games I've ever played.
Just like Portal 2, there's no other game like it. There's not.
And like Teef said, with Catherine, you go into a different mindset. And like it got to the point to where, dude, I would go to bed at night and I would start pushing blocks in my head. Like, okay, how can I make this work? Like, dude, it was so good. Like, I can't wait to go through that game again. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and there's like what, 7 different endings?
There's 7 different endings. Yeah, and it all depends on the choices you make.
That
And-
was-
It's a lot of content.
That was my
Yeah.
only disappointment, and it was even though these guys praised me on being so good, I got a bad ending. I got a terrible.
Oh, that
ending.
sucks.
Well, see,
Yeah.
each one you make, there's like a needle, and it points towards bad or good or whatever, and so yeah, just depending on which woman you're leaning towards the most, and that outcome, man, your ending can change pretty
So you
drastically.
know me, I was trying to play them both, and it didn't work out very good.
Wow, 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 wow.
It's not like real life, because in real life, it's a lot easier. But
yeah, boy. What's your number 5?
My number 5. I've told the story before. Ye old GameCube story. My
Die Hard?
console. Old Die Hard. No, it's not. It's not Die Hard.
Let's not let you.
It can't be.
It can't be. Yeah, unless they had a Wii version, which would have been.
It got an HD remake,
Die Hard
Vendetta
Vendetta HD
HD
remake. Make it happen.
the McLean version.
My console history, as far as what I had as a kid. My first console was an N64. From there, I went. My favorite console is Super Nintendo because my cousin had one, which I find weird that I started on the N64 and was still able to really enjoy the Super Nintendo as a kid. I almost preferred it because a lot of just my favorite games like Yoshi's Island and I really like Zelda on there, and just there's so many good games on it. But after that, I had nothing until a Wii. In 2006 or 7, I think I got a Wii, and everyone else had their PS3s and their Xbox 360s, and I was like, you know what? No, my Wii is just as good as your fancy next gen consoles.
My repackaged GameCube is.
I've got
awesome.
my motion controls. I've got my awesome games like No More Heroes.
Wii Sports.
No More Heroes. Yeah, I got my
No
Wii
More
Sports.
Heroes is your number 5.
No More Heroes is my number 5.
Oh wow, okay.
That game,
Very unique.
It is. It's Suda51 is a weird dude.
Yeah.
And he makes weird games. And that was the first Suda game I ever played, and aside from the sequel, the only one I've ever played. I haven't gone back and played like Killer 7 or any of those other ones.
His art style is very distinct, man. Like
It is.
you can see
It
those games
really
and
is.
know, like, oh, this is his stuff.
With No More Heroes, it was really kind of just. I think for me, it was one of those things where it was the time. That it was the Wii. Aside from Mad World, there weren't a lot of violent games, a lot of mature games.
Mad World gave me kind of a headache too because there was just so
That
much
weird-
white and black, and then the red.
I never played it.
It was okay. It wasn't that great of a game, anyways.
Yeah.
It was Sega.
Of course. But for me, when I played No More Heroes, Travis Touchdown was such just a cool character.
He's awesome, dude.
He's such a cool character. Like, he's this dude who's cool but totally a loser who watches anime, and just he was pretty much what I imagined older me like being like in my like mid-20s.
Like whenever you go to save, you go into the bathroom and like he sits
yeah,
down and starts like
he
taking
takes
a dump
shit to save. Like
Yeah.
the amount of style and character in that game, it was just awesome. And in Japan they really like to do this like. And I was trying to describe this and I couldn't, but this numbered thing with these drastically different characters, like a team
Organization
almost.
13.
Yes,
Yes.
that's a perfect example. Organization 13, the 10 assassins and No More Heroes. They were super different. You would go to start like the level where they would be in, and like their names would scroll out under you, and it would say their name, and then a silhouette of them would like go over the screen, and it would say who it was, and it would say their number. Like they're just really into that styled like organization thing, and that game really, really had that. And I'm trying to think of a word to describe it, but I can't. But just every boss had
Challenging,
they were
too.
challenging.
Yeah.
They were incredibly different, unique. Really, some of them are really funny. And the motion controls in the game, while not like, they weren't crazy accurate. You tapped A to do like to do melee, and then once you got them weak enough, an arrow would pop up, and you would
Tilt the remote in that
tilt the
direction.
Wiimote in the direction to slice them in half. And after you would kill them, and they would comically cut in half, and just blood
Everywhere.
just grotesque amounts of blood would go everywhere, and they would yell, "My spleen!" every time.
Yeah.
For their spleen.
hilarious.
Every time. It's hilarious.
Dude, like the
Still talk.
Lucha Libre stuff in there too. Like that's where you get your new moves. Yeah.
You have these grapples where you like learn suplexes and fisherman suplexes, and like the game was just, to me, I played the hell out of it, and I just loved it. I thought it was so cool. When I made an account on GameSpot, my first account on there was in MH for No More Heroes _fanboy 94. That was my first GameSpot account. And that game was really special, and it meant a lot to me, and I can't remember being so excited for a new IP sequel than when I saw the trailer for No More Heroes 2.
How is No More Heroes 2?
It's awesome. They solved the flaw with the jobs in the first one were pretty bad. They
were bad. Yeah.
They were. They made them these like 16 8-bit mini games.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's awesome. And they actually took the hub town away. There's no hub town. They took the town away and made a hub for it instead.
Ooh,
you
very.
don't like drive around on this awful motorbike.
That
everywhere.
part was pretty bad too. See, I got to the part. Now I played it on the Wii years and years ago, and I got to the part where you're in the baseball stadium, and I just couldn't get
with the
past
dude.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
The fight's kind of a pain.
yeah, it is. It is. And then I played it on PS3, which now that it's on your list, dude, I feel like I should probably give that another shot. But I got to where you're fighting the chick in the warehouse, and she's like the ninja chick. And I think it's the one after that baseball guy.
Ninja chick. I feel bad.
She's real quick. I think she's like number 9.
Oh my god, yes, she's so awesome. She's so awesome.
Dude, I didn't beat her
Oh,
yet.
what's her name? I
so-
can't remember her name. With the fro that's in
Yeah,
like the school.
yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, dude, she's hard. Oh my gosh.
I almost threw my controller across the room.
Yeah, I did
when
multiple times. But my deal, the only thing I had really against that game is that it does get very repetitive.
It does.
It gets very repetitive. But dude, like you
get
said,
into
it's
like this grindy like this groove whenever you're just plowing through enemies.
Yeah.
And you get the power ups, and you activate the power ups, and like you go Super Saiyan,
Right.
like some of them, and you can just plow through enemies, and they run away, and it's very like pleasing and like calming in a way.
right. Hey, also, I had an idea since we went counterclockwise for 5. Let's do Let's go do clockwise for 4.
Okay.
So let's hear your 4
Oh wait, right away, my 4.
right away. Let's hear it.
Yeah, okay. Just real quick, No More Heroes. It's awesome. what I was going to say about being excited for the sequel. Do you ever see this? The trailer
I haven't.
Sequel? The trailer, just in true No More Heroes fashion, was him talking to this chick, and she was like being all seductive and like on her knees and was like messing with his like pants and shit. And he was holding his lightsaber and he went like, oh, and the lightsaber like came out. It was so just immature.
Well, the fact that you fought with a knockoff lightsaber was awesome.
It like made the same noise and stuff, but it was so cheesy and awesome. And I remember losing my shit for that trailer because I just loved that game.
You played the second one?
I did, and it was really good.
Yeah, I need to try it out. I played the first one. It's really good.
I didn't enjoy I thought that the characters I didn't like as much as far as the assassins, the whole 10 that you have to fight.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting. When you first get thrown in that game and you kill the first person, spoilers, it's like you're now number 10
or 11.
Yeah, I think you're now number 10. So there are going to be people who are going to try to kill you, and you're basically screwed now. Like you either have to try to make it to the top or fight people for the rest of either way, yeah.
Yeah, and even at number 1, you still have to fight people off.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And in the end, No.
No. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Anyway, my number 4 is Fallout 3.
Okay.
I know you haven't played much of it.
I've probably put 10, 15 hours into it. Again, another game that I really want to go back and revisit. And I probably honestly should just play it on PC.
HD collection of that, though. I feel like with Bethesda having their conference,
right,
they have to have more than Fallout 4 and a new.
If they have an HD collection, Kyle, you have no excuse not to play that.
No. If they have they have an HD. The other thing too is I tried to play it on PS3 multiple times, and every time I've tried to play it, much like Skyrim, I had issues.
On PC, it's awesome. That's where I played. That's where I finished it. It was on PC.
See, I played it on PS3. I love that game.
It's there. I feel like there are just few games that have that kind of atmosphere. I think the combat's fine. I like the VAT system a lot. Some people hate it.
I like the VAT system. I thought it was great.
Too. And when you think about it, VATS was kind of there just to hide how bad the normal combat was. Yeah. But I found it really interesting. Like, I think being kind of OCD in a lot of ways, I loved seeing the exact percentage of like what my hit was going to do. But I feel like
it helped planning out, especially in Fallout, because you had so few bullets. It's like I don't want to shoot around him and waste that.
Exactly, and that was if you ever just shot at someone, like that's all you were doing. The shooting and that was so bad. But there was a lot of strategy in it. Like if there was someone who I like a Deathclaw or something, like something that was huge that I knew I couldn't get away from, I would maybe try to shoot it in the leg enough to injure its leg and then run the hell away, because those things are terrifying.
Right.
But I think Fallout 3's strongest point is its atmosphere.
Without a doubt.
I don't think there is any other game that has, minus maybe like BioShock. BioShock's atmosphere is really awesome, but Fallout 3 just has this level of just emptiness and this the 50s like post-apocalyptic setting is just so interesting and awesome, and I love the setting of those games more than anything else.
Yeah, like you said, the tone, the settings, everything is super awesome.
And I find it's odd. I find like 40s, 50s music. Like I have a Spotify station for it that I fall asleep to because I find it comforting, even though in those games it's super almost depressing.
It's eerie.
Yeah, it's eerie, but I love it, and I can't hear that music without thinking of Fallout now, and it's just
right. I'm like that with BioShock.
Yeah,
that game is so overwhelming too, because once you get out into the open world, it's just like I can go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah,
it's a great feeling of that game, because that was the first game I ever played like that where you could just pretty much just do whatever.
It's like doesn't tell you exactly what. It's just there you go.
Well, that's like I mentioned with Story. That was the first game he played on next gen,
and
it blew his damn mind.
Yeah, it's And some people complain that like the main story quest, because you can do a ton of side quests, but the main story quest is a little short. I thought it was fine.
I thought it was a little. I thought it was pretty lengthy.
By the way, answer me this: is it Liam Neeson or Pierce Brosnan that plays?
Liam Neeson is your dad, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
and that story is awesome.
Like I said, I haven't finished it, and I do plan on it. So
yeah, so I won't spoil anything, but it is a very interesting and well acted, thanks to Liam Neeson, story.
Yeah,
just that world and just everything about that game.
The weapons,
the weapons. It's such. The universe of Fallout is, I feel like, more interesting than anything else about it. Just that weird sci-fi but 50s, like it's really
it's a neat mixture, and it works.
It does, oddly enough. But Kyle, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Skyward Sword. Oh, I made it rhyme.
Oh boy.
Anyways, Skyward Sword. I think it catches.
Sword?
Yeah, it's somewhat close enough.
Okay.
Close enough for a song.
Sword
Yeah, kind of
Kinda.
ish. And the reason why I say Skyward Sword, I feel like that as a Zelda game, it
It's the
catches.
best Zelda game.
It's one of. Absolutely, it is, without question.
I haven't played it.
You should. And here's what really stuck out to me on Skyward Sword. Out of every other Zelda game outside of maybe Link Between Worlds, it's the only one that I feel like they actually put a lot of time and thought and effort into the story. The storytelling in that game is really good. There's actually some really good characters that are fun, and there's some really good character development. There's a couple kids that follow you around that, man, just to see them, and they kind of follow you at certain points through the journey, and you really get to know those characters, kind of like what they tried to do with the pirates in Wind Waker, but expanded upon that a little bit more. Another thing I really liked about it was, you know how like you always have something, like for instance in this one you have a bug net where you can go catch bugs. What in the hell am I going to do with these bugs? Well, you could get bugs, and there's a few other things that you could get, and you use those and paid rupees to upgrade your items, your shield and your bombs and all that. So there actually was like some RPG-esque elements because you could level up, like especially your shield. Like there were things like that you could upgrade and make it work way better. The other thing I like too is it got away from the traditional formula in the fact of it wasn't go into the fire temple, get the bow and arrow, and then you use that to beat the final boss, and you'll never use that ever again. Like it really mixed it up in that term. And there was only like 3 main areas, but as you went to those areas, you would go through them and see places that you couldn't get to or you couldn't access, to where later on you go to a different area, get an item, and you're like, oh, I know that I'm supposed to go back to the other spot and use that. So it had almost a Castlevania-esque or like a Metroidvania kind of feel to it, which I thought it was just super, super awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Wii controls would probably be my only complaint, but my defense for that too, though, is that it requires Wii Motion Plus, and because of that, they actually work. As long as you have your sensor bar and stuff set up, it works, and it works extremely well.
Well, that was a lot of downfalls for Wii games.
Right.
The motion controls.
Right, but again, I feel like play Wii Sports Resort Bowling and play regular bowling. It's night and day. Like,
but it
Wii Motion Plus
wasn't too bad.
It really wasn't. And keep in mind too, I played Skyward Sword propped up in a bed. Yeah. Like back before I actually sat in a chair or whatever. Like I played it propped up in a bed, and I had a blast. The enemies were very difficult, and each one of them, not every one of them, but a lot of them would have like different, I wouldn't say gimmicks, but different tricks that you had to do. Mm-hmm. Like there were some enemies where you had to cut them horizontally or diagonally or straight up and down. There was other enemies you had to like lunge out and stab. The Skulltulas, you actually had to swipe across them to get them to spinning, and then you had to stab them as they were spinning. Like whenever their belly came to you had to stab them.
And it's a beautiful game.
It's the best looking Wii game outside of maybe Mario Galaxy 2,
mm-hmm.
which for me it was a debate between Mario Galaxy 2 and Skyward Sword to put in this spot. But it was, and it's really unique too. And I actually like the fact that Ganon is not in it at all. Spoiler alert, but he's not in there, which I think is awesome. And dude, the villain for it is super. It's like, what if they put David Bowie in as the villain?
He's very
for
Japanese, the villain.
Dude, it's very David Bowie. It's awesome, and I love it. Like I just waited for him to be in a like sword battle and be like, dance, magic, dance. Like I couldn't wait. I waited to see like Jennifer Connelly in the background. Like, it was so good. Like I really enjoyed that
everyone's got to be related to a celebrity.
Yeah, they are. That's my thing.
I was gonna say I have never played the game, but physically that is my one thing I really enjoyed about it. That's my favorite Zelda from any game. I love that character design for Zelda.
Well, and not only that, again, even with it really hashes out the relationship.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard there's
crazy
actually
is like Ganon's not in there, but by the end of it, you completely understand the Ganon Zelda Link relationship. Like it's so good. Now I will say the one thing that really got on my nerves was and again, this is like any Zelda game, was in this one you don't have a fairy. It's actually the sword itself that's like hey, do this and blah blah blah. And there were some times where I'm just like clicking A. I'm like, all right, just shut up, woman.
I've heard it's very hand-holding.
D or Phi. Yeah, it does hold your hand some, but if you just skip past those parts, man, it's really good.
Did the voice come out of the Wiimote?
I think it did.
There's no way it couldn't have.
I hope
I feel
it
like
did.
that.
I feel like that.
Because that's your sword. I feel like that's
I think so,
yeah.
yeah. I think that's what they did. And I actually got that game at launch, and I got the bundle that came with the gold
That
Wiimote.
cool- Yeah.
Yeah,
That's rad.
yeah, it was super killer. So
So what about you, Teef? What is your number 4?
My number 4 is I kind of cheated.
Was this the hard one?
I kind of cheated a little bit.
Are you going to do a 2-1 on this one?
It's the Mass Effect trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, yeah.
I considered that one game because for me it was like one whole experience. Because if anyone knows anything about it, you play the first one, and any decisions that you make in the first one carries over to the second one.
And hey, they released the trilogy as one game,
right?
So
And I didn't play them off the trilogy. I did play them separately because this is when I did have Xbox 360 and I played the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went back when the trilogy came out, and I actually played the first one a second time because so I could have my stuff carry over to Mass Effect 2 and 3. But that game for me was a whole, I mean, a huge whole experience you can get in a game, between the gameplay and the graphics and the relationships between your main character, because you get to create your own character and make them look the way that you want. And
which I believe this or not, I didn't know that for the longest time until I finally I started Mass Effect on PC. Didn't get very far because the PC controls suck. I did not know that you could create your character because you always see either that default
shepherd,
male shepherd or that default female shepherd. Which if I ever play when I play them, I'm probably going to go with the default shepherd because I've seen him so much, and that's probably what. But I didn't know that for the longest time.
Yeah, and you can have the character design carry over too, but they actually give you the option to change the appearance if you want.
That's cool that they gave you the option.
But the story itself in that game is fantastic.
Yeah.
The first and second one I really like a lot. The third one I enjoyed it too, but it's definitely I think the worst out of them.
The weakest link.
But just the way that they made that game play out based off the decisions that you made was, I think, done better than most games with a decision based type game like that, where you can be good or
BioWare,
evil.
they're the masters of that.
Oh, of course, yeah, they definitely are the champions of letting you play out your own story that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it really did change the outcome of the game, because I mean your main party members could die.
Yeah,
and
that could be any or most of them, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
and some of them you pretty much could decide if they lived or not.
Yeah, and some of them it was inevitable where you had to pick between one or the other.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
And they're long games, and they're not too long. I don't think they're right at the right length.
Are they JRPG long or
no? Well, depending on if you do the extra stuff.
Yeah, if you do all the extra stuff, it
can get there.
Be quite lengthy, but also the exploration and the graphics and the battle system. I call it a battle system, but I mean it's a third person shooter, but it has kind of a VATS type thing too, where you can
very interesting
freeze time, and then you can command your two party members to attack this target, and it's where the RPG aspects come into it, because there's say a enemy that's like a robot type and they're weak against lightning or electric attack, and so you have a party member that can do that, so you can freeze time and have them use that attack, which weakens them and opens up their shield, so then you can do damage to them if you're like the hard hitter, and it has a different it's a class base, so you can play a different way. Like if you want to be a heavy tanky type character, you can. If you want to use the force like powers, what was it called?
Bionic?
Yeah, gosh, it's been so long since I played them, I couldn't remember.
Bionicle?
Yeah, it's almost like being a Jedi. You can force push people and things like that.
The choice in Mass Effect. I say this a lot. Man, give me a choice. There's not many games I've played like Mass Effect where it's just you had so much choice. And I have to say, out of that trilogy, 2 was my favorite. 2 was something really special.
2 is probably my favorite too.
My least favorite thing in games is when you have a quote unquote choice, but you don't really have a choice. JRPGs are worst about that. I feel like, not to bring up JRPGs all the time, but there's this whole someone says oh please will you do this for me, and you say no, oh but thou must. It was one of the old Dragon Warrior games where she would say that, you'd say no and she'd be like, but thou must, and you have to do it no matter what. I hate games that do that. Or Freedom Wars, it's really bad about no matter which option you pick,
the same outcome's going to happen. Yeah.
Don't even give me this fake illusion of choice. That's what I hate more than even no choice, is this fake illusion of it. And I feel from what
Force
I've heard,
Unleashed was really bad about that.
Was it?
Yeah.
From what I've heard, Mass Effect,
Nails
none
it.
of that. None of that at all,
Yeah.
And your party members that you pick up along the way, you develop a relationship with them too. You really care about those.
Yeah,
characters.
they're very unique characters.
That's another thing that makes a good game is you really care for the players and the people in the story.
From what little I played of the first one, I really liked Garrus.
Yeah, Garrus
I liked
is a
Garrus.
badass.
He was
He's
cool.
your man. He's your man. The whole trilogy. The one had some issues, but what was great
That
about
driving that thing.
Yes,
Oh my
that was
God.
terrible.
Jesus.
But what's great is they listen to the players and the fans, and then everything in one that was bad they fixed in 2.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't like 3 because I'm no spoilers here, but the way the story kind of plays out,
Yeah, it was
which
a whole,
I didn't mind.
I
it.
loved my ending
I really
that I
liked
got.
it, but that's the biggest complaint that people get out of that is you go through all these hours and hours of gameplay
And the
and all these
ending was-
decisions that you make, and you get to the end, and sometimes it's a letdown. To me, I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was fitting.
From what I played, one of the things that stuck out to me, I feel like the game has just an insane amount of lore. Like I was so overwhelmed with the amount of codex.
It's like Star Wars the game.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's insane, just the depth that this game has, story and lore wise, and I find that really cool. That if you're in, I like that it's optional. That you pick up a codec, and if you're into that shit, you can get deep into that game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I think
everybody
that's
has
really
their
cool.
backgrounds, and you can read into that stuff, and it's really cool. It's a really cool game.
I think that's going to be a series that with just how big that universe is, it's going to be around for so long.
Yeah.
it's going to be.
Thank goodness they put
expanded
the
on.
trilogy out because Mass Effect 1 was a exclusive to Xbox 360, so
or console wise, yeah.
right. And so whenever they announced that, you could play it on PS3. It was
Yeah, because in 2
And
back
they
in the day, it gave you an interactive comic where you could make those major decisions.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
one.
which is cool.
Yeah,
So you got to experience
if
the
anybody
story.
wants to go through and play it, you can do a interactive comic to where you can make the major decisions in the first game and just pick up on the second one, which the gameplay wise is a lot better.
It is.
Wasn't there some weird did Microsoft publish that game?
Yeah, Microsoft Studios.
Because there was a lot
published
of
that
weird,
game.
you
Yeah.
know, whether it was going to come to PS3 or not for a while, but
Yeah.
thankfully it did. So that's cool.
But that game also, which is a great thing in a game, it makes you feel like the ultimate badass. At
It
times.
does.
You're just going through wiping out aliens and robots. It's
Well,
really
and that's the thing is through the story, they're like, "Oh man, it's Shepard." You know, like he's a badass, and you truly feel like this character.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I was just moving it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
there
it was
you
like I thought I was muted like JC
Oh, no,
last
no,
week.
no.
I was like, "Huh,
I was just making sure it was pointed. in
I'm
your
coming
face.
through a tin can."
But if I had to choose one out of the 3, it would be the second one.
Yeah,
think
I
it's the
agree
best.
completely with that.
JC,
Yep.
what is your numero
Quattro.
cuatro? I was going to say it.
That's
okay.
Spanish for 4.
I tell you what,
You gotta brush up on your Espanol.
my Espanol. I know rojo, azul.
And Taco
And,
Bell.
Yes.
All right.
Quesadilla.
My number 4, Wii Sports Resort. Actually,
Wow. Okay.
I figured that'd get a reaction
Okay.
of that
Out of
nature.
all the last generation games, Wii Sports Resort.
All right.
The balls on this man.
Crucify.
my gosh.
Crucify.
Are you kidding me? Is Sonic number 1?
Sonic 06.
Well, let's hear the defense.
Let's hear the case.
Yeah. Plead your case.
Okay, well, I'll start with Uncharted 2. From here on out, well, Uncharted 2 is included in this line of thinking, but for my top 5 of last gen and top 5 for this gen in 10 years or whatever, it's still going to stand. My games that I select are based off of gameplay and gameplay experience, and memories attached to that. I mean, that's what makes games stick with you for so long is your emotional attachment to them. Wii Sports Resort, for one, I felt like it had the best implementation of motion control.
I
on
agree with that
console.
completely.
If you want to, and that's the only technical thing I'm going to say about it is that it did that the best. But the reason why I selected that at number 4, even over Uncharted 2,
That just
That
hit
story,
me.
though.
That just hit me.
Got a real in-depth story.
what's that?
That just hit me. That Uncharted 2 was 5 and. Anyway.
It took a back seat to Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, and I did say just a minute ago that it was a great. I think outside of Wii Sports Resort, Skyward Sword is about the only game I can say that used motion controls that well. Again, both Wii Motion Plus, and I do agree. I think Wii Sports Resort is one of the best games on Wii. It was very, very good.
Yeah, and again, I didn't select it just because I felt like it was the best technically for that console.
It's the one you enjoyed.
It's the one I enjoyed, and the reason why is because it's a great party game. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it really is. You find the things in it that you like to play, and you can play them over and over and over. My biggest memory with that is me and my kid sister, we used to play a lot of the Frisbee golf.
Dude, it was really good.
And she kicked my ass every single time we played, and I would get so salty because...
So salty. Because she was so salty.
Because she was salty
game.
at it.
No, I'm not right.
That's not what that means?
That's not what that means.
Dude, I'm really salty at that game.
Shut up. Shut your face. So I'd keep playing her, and she kept beating me every single time. And there was times I'd get so close to beating her, and she'd pull it out. I mean, she'd just frisbee hole and won it. You know, I'm just get so pissed. That's the biggest reason why is that it's one of the few times that I played a game with my sister. She used to love Mario Party, but that's a different story. Wii Sports Resort. I think about her a lot when I play that game. Another thing, too, is that I got to play it on a giant projector screen. If you've never played Wii Bowling on a giant projector that's on a wall, it's really...
I've heard it's awesome.
It's really
cool.
My
my aunt's neighbors, they have a big projector with their Wii. And, man, I got to say, though, Wii Sports Resort, the moment it came out and I started playing it, my Wii Sports disc went in the trash.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the 100-pin bowling, dude, was a blast. And, like, especially on 100-pin bowling... Like, if you can throw the ball and let it ride the top the whole time, it'll go to the back and knock out the back of the alley, and you get a strike immediately.
I don't think I've ever played Wii Sports Resort.
It's very, very good.
Yeah. It trumps Uncharted strictly for the memory. How is that so damn
Sorry,
funny?
it was just when you said it trumps Uncharted.
Wii Sports Resort.
I figured they'd be selling sno cones
Hey,
in
man,
hell before they said it trumps anything trumps Uncharted.
You see how...
To each their own. To each their own. I respect it.
No, you don't.
I'm serious.
Y'all are thinking my list is going downhill fast.
No.
Like, Sonic 06 is coming up.
Please don't.
So, I guess that leads to my number 3. Trace. See, I know Spanish. I know some Spanish. You're going to hear... Actually, mine is Pilot Wings.
Resort for the
Pilot Wings Resort, yeah. Last of Us.
Are you serious?
Okay.
I'm serious.
At number 3?
At number 3, yeah, I know. It's almost...
what is it?
Huh?
What is it?
Last of Us. The Last of Us.
I thought you were being serious about Pilot Wings. And I was,
No.
I was fixing to question my friendships with you and JC after this.
Nope. Ye old Last of Us. That game. I mean, you're going to hear about it quite a bit tonight, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm
of
sure.
course. You have to.
But
what is it?
The Last of Us?
Now, is that a game or
Yeah,
what?
I think I don't even know. So I won't stay on it too long because spoilers. I know at least one other person who has this on their list, and you're going to hear more about it. Mm-hmm. But what I will talk about, I've been watching E3 regularly since about 2008. Every year, it's basically my Super Bowl. Watch it live. I don't miss it for the world. And I watched that reveal for The Last of Us trailer live, and I'm getting chills just talking about it. I've never had a trailer give me chills like that, minus probably the Kingdom Hearts 3 reveal that hit.
Dude, yeah, I lost it.
But just that end moment where he kicks the dude down and he just fucking shotguns his face.
And it goes to black.
And it goes to black,
Yeah.
The Last of Us. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, this game is dark. Like, it just gave me chills. I was like, man, I
just got him.
don't know what I'm...
Yeah,
right?
me too.
I don't know what I'm getting in for, but I want to play it. And I'm sure you've heard it a million times. The game just has a narrative that is unlike anything else quality-wise in games. It's just...
Yeah.
It's a great game, so that's all I have to say about it, really.
Yeah,
Great.
there's really no point in...
Exactly.
Because we're going to talk about it more here in a little
Right.
bit.
Exactly.
Now, do we want to do your number 2 or do we want to swing out to JC's number 3?
We went to him, then me. Do you want to just go to you, or...
No, I thought we were doing the loopy-loop.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean,
want to keep it going, we can go back to me.
Hellfire. We can do it any way we want.
It's up to you, the host.
I'll allow it.
Getting hung up on turn
You'll
order.
allow it what, me?
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 3 is now. Here's the thing: I actually made a last-minute revision. It was going to be Uncharted 2, but then I got to thinking about it really hard, and there was one that I forgot.
Okay.
My number 3 is BioShock 1, and it
Not
was kind
BioShock
of
2?
no, BioShock 2 is hot garbage in a handbasket, and it was actually a really tough debate between BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite is one of the few games I've ever played that my jaw physically dropped multiple times. And it did. I mean, and I promise you, like, just completely, like, blown away by a game. But I have to say BioShock 1 just for the sheer fact that it did that first. You know what I mean? But, my gosh, dude, just the...
Have you played BioShock, JC?
I'm not going to do
No.
I'm not going to do spoilers for BioShock 1.
I played Infinite.
I'm not going to spoil BioShock 1. Though we were on, the game came out in 06, and everybody probably knows about it.
Was it really 06?
06, yeah. And it was
Christ.
another game like Mass Effect that at one point
It
was
wasn't
Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. It wasn't a launch title, was it?
No.
But it was.
No, it was
that same
early. It was
year?
launched when it was
Or no,
that first
Xbox
year.
came out 2005, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it came out in 06.
PS3 came
and
out in
we got the
06.
PS3 version in 07.
Yeah.
And I remember, no. It might have been 08.
Anyway,
I was living in Denton,
Yeah.
and I went and picked up BioShock 1 when I was living in Denton, and I remember taking it home, plugging it into my apartment, and, dude, it terrified me. And I don't do scary stuff well at all.
I did not know that game was a scary game until
It's
I played
pretty
it. And I'm
scary.
like,
Well,
That's
and
why
here's
I
what's
haven't
crazy.
played it.
scary?
Here's what's
It's
crazy
not
to
that
me,
bad.
dude. I don't do scary stuff.
It's not
and
super
3
scary, but-
games out of my top 5 are scary.
Yeah.
Like, that blows
I
my
think that
damn
shows
mind.
you need to play more scary games. Like
No,
Dead
dude,
Space.
I will pee myself. Like, there'll
Well,
be
it shows
urine
you how,
everywhere.
you know, if
But
the
these
game's
3 games
built
aren't
well.
like crazy. They're
Yeah.
not like crazy scary though. Too. They're just kind of creepy.
Kinda
There's
scary.
moments in that game
Yeah.
that
the very beginning of that game. That's
Well,
why I haven't
that's
played
what
it, because
set
it
me
turned me
off.
off. I was
That's
like,
the
oh,
that's
no.
the worst part.
Well,
the beginning.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
get. Well, check this out. I played BioShock 1 back then, and I got about 30 minutes into it, and I shut it off. And I was like, I can't do
That's
it.
exactly what I did.
I can't do it. And,
What part
and
did you get to?
I got out of the bathysphere. And it was, the lights were flickering and stuff, and they were running around, and I was like, man, I can't do it because I didn't know what they were.
Right.
And then, like, I was talking to a guy in the store about it, and he was like, dude, they're just crazy people. And I was like, oh, really? And for whatever reason, like, the light bulb went off.
The fact that they were people made it.
It wasn't a big deal. And so, like, I took it home and popped it back in, and I think I beat that game, like, in one. I think it was one of the few games that I, like, stayed up and, like, powered through. But, man, that narrative is so... That was one of the first games that I played that I was like, oh my god, this story. Like, don't get me wrong, there's games before that, like, man, it had a good story and I enjoyed it, but that was the first that was like, oh my god, that
This
you
is
know.
how you do a story in a game.
Right, exactly. And
For me,
and the gameplay was really good and unique
Yeah.
and varied depending on. We could all 4 go through a level in BioShock
And
and,
do it
it
completely
play out
different.
completely different.
where I stopped, as far as like I played it, I'm like, oh wait, this is scary, and turned it off. It was really early on. Whenever you see the Big Daddy for the first time, and he like spikes that dude, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
nope.
You know what?
I
No.
don't. And he throws him through the
Yeah.
the glass that you're at. I'm like, no, I'm not
And his
doing
face
this.
is like right there,
Yeah.
or is it his
Nope.
back?
Huh?
He's either up against the glass or his face is there. I actually do remember. Never mind, it wasn't right out of the bathysphere that I quit. I got to the part where you're walking down the hallway and you see the woman's shadow, and she has like the baby carriage.
Oh my
And she's like
God.
talking to the baby.
Yeah.
And I like look around, and all of a sudden she starts screaming and pulls the Tommy gun out of it. And I held
I
the
can't
PlayStation button and I
spoil
said turn off system, yes, and I set my controller down.
I can't
Oh,
do this.
you grown manly men, you.
Oh my gosh, dude, I couldn't do it. But man, again, I went back to it, and I'm so glad that I did. Man, just it's very unique. And again, one of the few games I played, the setting itself felt like another character. Like the city of Rapture might be the best character in that game. Like it was
Yeah.
kind of like Fallout. Like its setting, there's something about that like dark, creepy, eerie. Like something really messed up happened here, and that 50s
And you're not
like.
totally sure what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And again, a lot of background, a lot of history in that town, and like as you went around, you could pick up stuff, and it would tell you
Those
about all
audio
these
logs
people. Yeah, the
and-
audio logs, man. It was, and I actually liked the hacking because I played a ton of Pipe Dream on my aunt's old computer, and it reminded me of that, dude, and I loved it.
I liked the hacking because I played Scooby-Doo 2 on GBA, and
Oh,
those
God.
that kind of minigame, the pipes, was a huge part of that game, and I
Yeah.
really liked it because of that.
Wow.
But before we get to Teef here, I want to say, I think single-handedly, not to spoil anything, biggest twist in games.
Yeah. Oh, dude, just
I had to like bend over to pick up my jaw off the fucking floor. I was
Yeah.
like,
yeah, dude. It you know,
you owe it to yourself to play it just for that.
Yeah.
Just-
I
And
agree.
it plays out perfectly.
It does.
The setup and everything is just like mind blowing.
Well, and that's the thing is, dude, I can sit here and tell you all day long, like, one of the best plot twists. The twist is so crazy. The twist, and you can go through and play it, and you still don't see it coming.
Yeah,
You know there's something, but you don't know when, where, how, and it's just like it hits you like a freaking like oncoming traffic.
An awesome villain as well.
Oh, dude,
Very,
amazing
very awesome
villain.
Anyway,
Yeah, boy.
yeah. Teef.
My number 3 is Metal Gear Solid 4.
Okay.
And
That perfect 10.
As you guys know, that series has a soft spot in my heart. So as we talked when last time I was on here, we talked about games that made us cry, and that was one of the games. You know,
Yeah.
Especially since the journey of Snake himself. Especially in 4, it hits really hard. Like I hit on last time, he's old and he's just not this ultimate badass like he is in the previous games.
Yeah, he's got like gray hair in that game.
Yes, and I think like I said last time, when you would like roll dodge, he'd like have to grab his back because he's like an old man.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would, like and
that's
like
cool.
you're trying to like dodge these bullets, and he's like having to grab his back and stuff.
Wow.
But just because I won't go on about it because I kind of hit on it last time, but. The story of that series, like we've already discussed, because we did the news over Metal Gear Solid 5, it's just it's an amazing ride.
It's a special game and series for sure.
It is an amazing ride that series for sure.
JC. What's your number 3, sir?
Are you ready for this?
My body is.
I don't know. I couldn't have called. If you gave me $1 million, I couldn't have called.
Wii
number
Sports.
four.
I would not. That was.
You could have given me
Wii
100
Sports.
games to name off, and I would have never.
Game Party.
Beowulf.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Conan.
Yeah.
Oh, that Conan.
Wet.
Duke Nukem Forever.
Fucking wet. That was almost my first PS3
It's like
game.
Quentin Tarantino's game.
Wet is actually kind of fun.
I've never played it.
actually
It was-
It
kinda
is.
fun.
It's just clunky.
I asked
Yeah.
for it for Christmas, and my mom was like, "Fuck you! I'm not spending that much money on you." So pretty much, she was like, "That game's $60. I'm not paying that much."
It's not worth 60, but I mean for 20, maybe
It's
you know.
worth $2.
Isn't it for $4.99 game at
yeah,
our
it
store?
is.
Here's my
It's
question.
still
Maybe
for $5.
$7.99.
The most important question: does it have trophies?
Yes, it does.
I'll play it.
It actually does have
Such a trophy
trophies.
whore.
I am. It's sad.
It's like a trophy
I think I
skank.
earned 2.
Can I
What?
say it?
I think I got 2 trophies out of that.
Oh,
out of
nice.
that thing. Yeah.
He'll beep you out if you can.
Okay.
Anyways, sorry.
We're marked explicit on
no more
iTunes.
trolling.
Yeah, we're good on.
I wasn't trolling
onwards.
about Wii Sports Resort either. That really. Oh, anyway. Number 3. Look at my little damn list here. Oh, Gears of War.
One first one.
I could pull a teeth and bundle in all 3. But if I had to pick one, it's,
Hey, I said that if I had to pick one, it'd be Mass Effect 2.
I'll give you the trilogy and then pick
Listen
your favorite.
here,
out of
Mr. Resort.
okay. Yeah.
Mr. Resort.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with Kyle's answer here. I mean, he's gonna give me the trilogy, so
Okay. Gears of War trilogy.
that doesn't include Judgment. I
It
never
is a
played
great trilogy.
but if I had to
I think
go
I'm
with
the only one at
one,
this table who hasn't played it.
that. I haven't either.
I'd
Oh,
have.
really?
I
Sorry.
really like 2, but one just for the sheer fact that it stands out as, again, it was the first one. I have to give it props because it was really the game that really solidified third-person shooters as one of
Yeah.
my favorite genres.
Well, it solidified third-person shooters in general. I mean, up until that point, third-person shooters weren't really necessarily done right.
Especially the snap to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like even though Gears of War 2's story wasn't as good as Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2 was a better game than 1. But I got to give it to the first one, just because of that memory of it being like, wow, this is really cool, because I don't just get to run around mindlessly and kill people. Like, I actually have to be wary of my surroundings and hide behind a brick wall every now and then. You know, like
Right. It's not just run and gun.
And
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, it was the first or second one, I forget, but one of them were huge. I mean, like there were like trailers in theaters for this game.
Probably 2.
Was it 2?
I think-
Which one had the Mad World commercial?
that was one.
Okay.
One had the Mad World commercial. One had a good marketing campaign. But then, of course, it came out. It did well. And then they blew it up for 2.
2, okay.
2 feels like a classic summer blockbuster for a movie. 2 just turned everything up to 11. For better or for worse. Because they lost a little bit of that flavor that 1 had.
Of
Because
love.
one was really gritty and muddy. Just the color palette even was a lot more colorful in 2 than it was in 1.
Chainsaw guns.
Yeah.
Chainsaw guns. And everyone looks like they're football players, but
Did they all?
One of them
Especially when the
actually
guy's name
is.
is
One
Marcus
of them is?
Phoenix. Like Marcus Phoenix just sounds like a dude in the NFL.
Yeah.
Playing linebacker
Coltrane.
for the Chargers, Marcus Phoenix.
Coltrane's a football player. He actually has a little bit of a spoiler, but I got to say it
That's
just
fine.
because
I don't know when I'll play them.
Cole has a flashback of when he used to play football, but
played
I think they
football?
call
Oh, cool.
it thrash ball in this.
Of course.
Of course, it's like blitz ball, but not
yeah,
as
but he
cool.
actually
But not
starts.
terrible.
Yeah, he starts
God.
juking the bad guys with like a bomb in his hand, like he's doing
Oh
it like
my
on football, like right. But it's like flashback in him
Right.
playing football or thrash ball, and he has this little thrash ball in his hand, his helmet, and his pads on, and everything.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
It's been a long time since I played it, but not the bad guys, the enemies. They come from underground.
yeah,
They're the locusts.
they've been underground forever. We just didn't know about them, and then they built up their army and they emerged.
That's right. I remember now.
And
See, I have all three of those games. I want to go through. and
funny
play them.
about that, it was terrifying.
They actually had their very own
Teef here has
sports
balls of
resort
steel.
down there
Nothing scares Teef apparently.
Huh?
Oh,
Did-
no,
didn't
yeah.
they?
Wait for
What's
my
that?
number
Sorry.
one.
In the Locust homeworld, didn't they have their very own sports resort down there?
God.
It was their fourth favorite
Not
place
their
to
very
go.
own.
Oh boy.
Oh,
That's the last joke I'll make of that. I'm done.
No, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. Just wait. Just wait.
So
The other big thing about playing the Gears games, I played all three of them with my wife, and it's one of the only times she's ever been interested enough to actually play a game because she's not a gamer. But I think that speaks to the gameplay in that game.
Yeah.
That it can pull someone in.
So they're easy? Is that what you're saying?
They're not easy.
I remember when Gears came out, I went over to a guy's house and he had it because he was one of those, it's the sex box and the gay station, you know. It's just like,
Oh, yeah.
fuck.
yeah, piss off. But anyways, he showed that, and that was one of the only titles I ever saw that I was like, oh man. You know, and keep in mind too, this was back when you had that and BioShock and Mass Effect, and those were all exclusives, and it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a
Well,
minute. But then
The other thing
know.
too is that the Unreal Engine it always been a thing. They'd always had an Unreal Engine, but Gears is what made
It was
the
Unreal.
Unreal Engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you know, technically, texture pop in's really bad on Unreal Engine, but when it pops in, wow,
Yeah.
it looks really
Well, that
good.
Unreal Engine really liked that 360 hardware though too, man.
Yeah,
It ran
well,
really
plus
well
Epic
on it.
developed it, and they know the inner workings of that.
Yeah.
So that's why Gears is on this list.
I need to play them. I think that when they make a, I love HD collections. I think that everything should be made in HD. Like I said,
Again, they're
If they ever
co-op.
make-
I'll play
Yeah.
them with you on 360.
if they ever make one for the one, you know, I'll probably grab it on there and maybe grab a one to play just that, because I feel like
Yeah.
those are games I need to play.
Final
That-
boss is balls hard. in that game.
That's what's really great about those games too. Is they're just a whole nother experience when you have someone. Which any game that has a good co-op to play with a
Should be,
buddy,
yeah.
they're really fun. Just like with us, like Resident Evil 6, that's a pretty bad game, but me and
But co-op
JC,
wise, it's
yeah,
pretty
we
fun.
played it together and I quite enjoyed it just because of him. Even though he likes Wii Sports.
That J squared. That Wii Sports Resort.
You want to play some Resort sometime?
Dude, y'all, we can totally play. I have it at my house.
It's better than Uncharted 2.
It's way better. That multiplayer.
I love you, JC. I do. I really do.
This list isn't bet in terms of quality. It's in terms of what.
Yeah, it's personal favorites. Yeah, you're right. I should not say that. It's not that it's better. It's that you like it more. That's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Just like Sonic games over Zelda.
Here we go. Gonna
Damn right.
unwrap that. All right. What is my turn, right? I think.
Yeah.
Isn't it? All right, my number 2 is Ni no Kuni.
Ooh, no nookie.
Level 5 no Nookie, as it's called. Ni no Nana.
Wrath.
The Wrath of the White Witch.
Was it witch or bitch?
Bitch.
She was
I
kind of
believe.
That's what you have to be
She
to play
was.
that game.
She got that space. That
A space cape, dude.
that
I want
space
one of
cape.
those. Add to
Yeah,
cart.
add to cart. Made by Level 5, animation by the Studio Ghibli people. Just as a whole package,
So it's an anime game?
kind of.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, kind of. To be honest, like the animation of it is just straight out of Ghibli
It
film.
looks
and-
like it could be.
yeah, and one complaint I'll say real quick. It kind of gives you all the cutscenes, all the fully like drawn animated cutscenes that really look like a Ghibli film, really like at the beginning, and then you get less and less as the game goes on. But I remember when I first I got super hyped for that game. The previews, it previewed well, and just I bought the hardback guide and the game, pre-ordered them both, and when I got it in and I first got out to the overworld, it was my little character on an overworld, and I could see monsters like on the world, and I was like, this is like Final Fantasy VI. This is like 7. This is like
It was good.
old good JRPGs. This isn't Final Fantasy 13 where I'm walking down a corridor. No offense, I love the game, but you know, it was a return to
that
to
traditional classic RPG. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the battle system, it was fine. It wasn't bad. I really prefer when I have a party of humans that I can connect with.
Yeah.
And we still did have that with Swain. And
Yeah, to a degree,
And,
but even then, that was my main complaint with that game. I
Yeah.
got quite a ways through it, and I still plan on going back and finishing it, and I really enjoyed it. But the battle system, I just felt like it needed that one other thing.
it was very grindy.
Yeah, it was extremely. And not only that, there was times where I just felt helpless. Like no matter how good my strategy is, I'm helpless. And it's like, how dumb is the AI in that game?
It's not bad, I feel like,
but it's not good either.
The thing is, the way the AI worked in the game, or as far as it was almost similar to Paradigms in a way, where you could push triangle and go into your all-out defense, and everyone would go defensive.
Right, but
See,
even
it
then,
kinda
there
like
was so
switching
many
paradigm.
times I did that, and they wouldn't guard. And the other thing too is how many times did you try and guard, and you just flat out didn't hit it in time?
Exactly. Yeah.
That was
the boss
frustrating.
would. It was very much reactionary to like. It was very much like pattern recognition and
Yeah.
you know, stuff like
I
that. And with
wish they-
bosses, when they would like when he was about to do an attack, you'd have a split second to push triangle and then make everyone defend, or else you'd be fucked basically.
Well, what sucks about that though, you hit triangle and you don't defend, but they do. So I wish like maybe one of the triggers or another button would allow you to always go into block, but instead you had to scroll through the menu and hit it. And there was times that I was just on the other side of the menu and just physically could not get to it.
Yeah.
You know, but again, outside of that, I love, dude, like all of the puns and references and
The
stuff
puns were
are
great.
so like your Majesty, and it's like a big ass
yeah.
cat that's like the ruler. I loved it. A lot of charm.
If you, yeah, that's a really good word to describe it. Actually, it does have a lot of charm. If you like puns in general,
Oh my
just that game
gosh.
is full. Every single creature that you catch, kind of like Pokemon.
I was gonna say, if you like Pokemon,
If you like Pokemon, you know, in any capacity, and Studio Ghibli, which I feel like there's a lot of crossover with Pokemon and
Yeah.
people who like those two, give this game a try. It's really, really good, and it's a real return to what made JRPGs great
and it
what
seems
we've lost
kind
a
of
lot in the past.
childish, but it's really not.
It's kind of like Kingdom Hearts in that degree, to where it's kind of childish, but anybody could play it.
I put
yeah.
80 or 90 hours into that game. I really
Yeah.
liked it too.
And I enjoyed every bit. Like the story was great, the characters I loved. Just it's a really great game, and I think it deserves the number 2 spot on my list.
Sweet. My number 2 is Halo 3 ODST.
That's not last.
I'm
gen.
kidding.
I was about
yeah,
to
it is.
say.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's
yeah,
last
yeah,
gen. I'm kidding. No, dang, no reaction. My number 2 is.
I was just
also-
waiting. I was like,
Right. No,
Not
my
that that's a
number
bad
2
game.
Left
Is,
me speechless.
is surprisingly another Wii game, and it's number 1. I put this so high up because of just the flat out
Can I
value.
guess?
Yes.
Is it Mario Galaxy?
No, it's not. I wanted it to be,
Well,
but it's not.
let me guess.
Mhm.
Galaxy 2.
No. JC, you want to have a whack at it? It's not Wii Sports.
I have.
Wii Sports Resort.
It's not that either.
You're just
Can I have one more guess?
Yes.
Prime 3.
You're very close. Other M.
shut up.
Shut up! I was about to say.
Okay,
you kidding
I'll
me?
be all serious. Metroid Prime Trilogy.
Boom blocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah. It counts.
Okay.
I'm
I
counting
I don't think
it.
that it does.
I don't. Yeah, I don't
Those
know.
are GameCube games.
No, but they were completely. You guys got to give me
Those
this.
were games.
I'm
Prime
never mind.
3 was a Wii game.
Prime 3 was.
But the.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Metroid
drunk.
Prime 3 was on Wii.
But I don't know.
They also
Barely
remade them with
eat
16
that
by
in.
9 with Wii motion controls. The game felt very different. I'm using it anyway,
I mean,
regardless
I
of what
guess
you
you could
say.
use it,
It's
yeah.
already there.
It's easily the best
Already there.
$60 game on the Wii. Easily.
Right, without a doubt. Not only that, now it's $20 on Wii U. And I got it for $10 back then. But the biggest thing, dude, 3 of the best games I've ever played, all on one disc. You know, it was so good. It's
Metroid
like-
Prime would be in my top 10 games of all time.
yeah,
Easy.
Metroid Prime
That
1
game.
has aged so insanely well. And
That's a GameCube game.
yeah, it's a GameCube game.
That's last gen.
Yeah.
Right.
Another game with just incredible atmosphere. too.
Yeah, exactly. But man, and again, like the value. Not only that, like the transition from you take a game that was strictly 2D and go into 3D. The only other game I can think of that handled it that well was Mario,
Yeah.
or Zelda. I guess I should say Zelda, Mario, and Metroid.
And even then, granted with Prime,
Sonic.
you had a whole generational gap where Mario 64, Ocarina of Time,
Right.
they paved the way. So Metroid Prime,
Yeah, it skipped 64 generations.
it had
for sure.
like Doom and all these other games to really
But
show
you know
what
what?
to
If
do
you
with
guys are going to tell me that, then I'll make a case for Metroid Prime 3, even though if I'd have known that, it wouldn't be here. But Metroid Prime 3 I actually really enjoyed it. It made good use of the Wii controls. The story was a little over the top at points, but man, it was a lot more interactive than the others. But it still kept that like open exploration type things, and there's just something special about those games, man. Just the fact like, I scanned, I found out, what's this? What do they do? And it's just that lore. And Samus as a character is so great, but yeah, you don't really get to sit here.
I'll never understand how people can dislike Prime. That
Right.
I think that game is just phenomenal. Like, just
Yeah.
it looks amazing for a GameCube game, which it's a good
It's
game.
probably in my top 10.
It's so good,
Yeah.
man. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. So anyway, sorry for crucifying me.
Yeah, good job, Kyle. For
Sorry.
Oh, how's it feel?
It feels pretty good. I enjoy it. At least I didn't pick Wii Sports for
at least his game was a
At
last
least it
gen
was
game.
last gen.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Anyway,
That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Damn it.
that's my story.
My number.
Sticking to
Am I next? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I go now?
yeah. You're next.
The
Ready, set, go.
Last of Us is my number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So wait.
Wait a minute. Are you getting upset with me because I put it at my number 2?
I'm actually a little mad right now.
Well,
Like,
No. Let's.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead,
Let
Steve.
what?
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Hey, dude.
WSR over here getting upset.
Your attitude sucks, and I really need you to stop. Because
I'm
Steve
trying.
here is a guest.
I'm trying.
He's not here all the time, and you're being really rude to him, and I really don't appreciate it.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay, JC.
Yeah.
Anyway. But we already know why The Last of Us. I mean, besides the amazing story and the amazing gameplay and graphics and
I think
voice
that
acting.
shows. I think that speaks to how good that game
And-
is, that we don't even have to say anything, really. It's
Right.
like, you know.
Really, we put so much time, especially me, JC, in the multiplayer, playing together, and bonding. Just how J Squared was developed. Is he crying? Are you crying over there?
Oh, my
I
God.
feel like I'm going to. I can't.
Aw.
I'm floored.
Did I put it
I
at number?
am-
Did I put it at number 2?
I'm utterly floored.
He put it at number 3. Was it 3?
Yeah,
Was it
mine
Last
was
of
3.
Us?
Hell, I put it above Wii Sports Resort. But no, I think the
part of-
multiplayer was surprisingly good.
I think the part of me that put it at number 2 is because it would have been typical for me to put it at number 1. So I was trying to mix things up a little bit.
JC, you going to talk
Yeah.
on what your number 2 is? What's your number 2?
JC, what's your
But anyway, like I was saying on the multiplayer, we me, Kyle, and JC play that game online a lot. So that's one of the reasons it's way up there.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't
right?
either.
I don't know what's
Are
happening.
you really upset?
Yes, I am really upset.
Oh, JC, what's your number 2?
Oh, cough.
Last
again.
of Us. No, I'm playing. I'm upset because he took my number 2 slot. No, is it really my turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we not gonna do?
I mean,
Well, what else needs to be said?
I'm sure this isn't the last time Last was to be
I don't even
said.
know if I can finish this podcast.
I don't know what's happening right now. What?
This is so weird. It's weird for me. It's
Still real to me, damn it.
Okay, my turn. Number 2, Borderlands 2.
Okay.
I feel like Borderlands as a franchise was the best franchise to come out of last gen. I mean, that's just for
a
me
bold
personally.
statement.
I know there's people who are going to be like Mass Effect or BioShock or any other franchise.
It's all
that's-
valid
the Wii,
arguments.
the
I
Wii
feel like.
Sports franchise.
Yeah. Rip in peace.
But I
You want
enjoyed-
to talk about a good sequel? Wii Sports Resort, man. That
Definitive.
the definitive version. I love you, JC. I really do. But no, I had a ton of fun with Borderlands 2. I think that's a really good game.
I feel like I really like that universe. Borderlands 2 I picked over Borderlands 1 just because it is a flat out better game.
Yeah. In every way.
Not to say Borderlands is bad, but if you play 2, you'll never go back to 1, which is a good thing. We've
It's like-
said that before.
I don't get why people are complaining. Like, why isn't Borderlands 1 in the HD collection? You don't need it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
there's
really
no
don't.
reason to play that game.
They'd have to
you know?
completely overhaul that game with 2's
Yeah.
system.
The only
Just-
way they would need it is if they call back to those particular characters in I don't know if they do in the pre-sequel. I haven't played it.
Right. Which,
But
I mean, they did a little bit. Like
they did in 2.
They were pretty
all
central
of
to
them
the
came
story
back
in 2,
in
I felt
2.
like.
Yeah. Which was cool. That was some nice fan service. But
So yeah, maybe that is. I mean, maybe they should have just thrown it in. I mean, but then again, you're getting tons of content anyway.
I don't think it would have been that hard to just throw it in. But,
Yeah, it's whatevs.
it is whatevs.
The reason why this is my number 2 game, one word, addiction. I played both of these games, and they both did this shit to me. I would sit there, and I was playing it at in the evening, got off work or whatnot, and then I was doing quests and everything, and then I eventually just take a look outside the window when I was getting up to give me something to drink, and the sun was coming up, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like, I played this all night, lost track of time.
I love those kind of nights, man.
It's a very, even though I'm a big gamer, it's very rare for me to lose track of time like that, and a game do that to me.
It's been a long time.
I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah,
to how much I
absolutely.
love that game. And
You
both
have
of
this
them
sense
did
of
it.
feeling like, kind of sad, like, oh my god, I just did that, but at the same time, it's like, I just did that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know.
my
that's
whole night, man.
It was like a bittersweet moment
Yeah.
of, oh my, this day's gonna suck, but
Right.
it's awesome at the same time.
It is an awesome feeling, man.
So yeah, I just did a lot of grinding in that game, and that's the reason why. Biggest memory.
Man, it was really, really special. Like that game, and again for the multiplayer, it's one of those games like the more people you played with, the better that game got.
The game's hilarious.
That-
Which is why four player. I can't
Split
speak
screen.
screen.
I can't speak English words.
Tongue tied there. Sorry, but anyways, 4 player split screen.
It was really close
Looks
to being
good.
in my top 5 too.
Yeah,
especially
me
just
as well.
because me, Kyle, and JC played that together.
And not me, because I didn't know these guys.
I
knew
didn't know
Kyle,
you then.
but I kind of
man.
knew you. I knew you through the store.
when we
a
were
little
playing
bit.
Borderlands.
I mean, I knew you like.
Yeah,
I had seen you at the store. I
Right.
didn't really know you, I guess.
dude,
but
I'll play it with you whenever the remaster.
I
comes
think
out.
that would be fun as hell to all go through.
Yeah,
I think that'd be awesome.
I agree.
Super Turbo Online.
Super Turbo Online. That's what we'll call it. So, who's next?
Are we on number 1?
It's your number 1 now.
That's my
Virgil.
number 1. JC, do you need a hug?
No, I'm good.
Okay. You need a back rub?
When I name my number 1, I'm gonna
Do you
go back and explain why I put Last of Us number 2.
do you need a kiss?
No.
Okay.
I need to.
You need a
a
beer?
shot?
Okay. My number 1 to me is the just hands down the best game of last gen. And it would be, if it weren't for a few flaws, my favorite game of all time. Just easy. Even beating Final Fantasy VI.
Wow.
And that is Dark Souls. I think that... Let's unpack this real quick.
Okay.
Dark Souls is... And thanks to... I feel like when Demon Souls first came out, let me give a little brief history. There was nothing like Demon Souls just out there. It was this kind of seamless online multiplayer, but not really. You would see like the phantoms of other players in their own worlds, and that would kind of...
Give you an idea of what's
Yeah,
going
give
on.
you an idea of what to expect, but it wasn't like... it wasn't very explicit. It was very much trial and error, learning in this natural way like you do in real life. You learn everything you learn in real life as far as, personal experience things through trial and error. You're like, does this work? No, it doesn't? Okay. I know not to do that next time. And the way that story in that game was told, it was all told through the environments, through the world. And for me, what is so special about that game and why it's my number 1, there is no game last gen or this gen yet, in my opinion, that has that classic feeling like when you were a kid and you finally beat Mega Man 2.
Yeah, you finally beat that boss or that.
That boss.
Oh, wow.
That like you stayed up all night, you kept dying, you kept having to start over, and then you finally beat it, and your only real reward or your biggest reward was just the fact that you did it, just that feeling of I did it, I finally did it.
Right.
And it's the purest like gaming thing to me, just that sense. I think it's what video games originated from, is that feeling of doing it, of just achieving it.
Right, and especially in this day and age of hand-holding games.
Exactly.
That game really sticks out because of those features.
And not even in just with its gameplay, but in its story. Again, it's not a game that its story is presented to you. It's as if, what? Am I just...
He's shaking his head at me for Last of Us.
Gotcha.
He's still salty over there.
It's a game that story in real life, stories are not just presented to you. You know, you it's like I kind of said with the learning thing. You learn stories naturally in Dark Souls. You look for it. You read like through the environments. Like, okay, this must have happened here. You know, you talk to this NPC. They kind of talk about something. They don't talk about it like you know it. You know, or they don't talk about it like they're trying to inform you. They just talk about it like they would. You know,
normally,
exactly.
Like if we were in here and say that we just got through with the war, and you're like, dude, my cousin just came in from the war, and you're like, oh, awesome.
Yeah, it
Like
wouldn't be
something
like
just like natural, not like there was a war and we were going against those guys and we beat them.
Exactly, that's really good. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah,
back to the hand holding thing.
Exactly,
you know?
you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, my cousin came from the war that happened in 1982, where blah blah. You would just be naturally just yeah, and just so many things about the game. My only complaint about the game is that on console. And it's very notorious for it. One specific place, Blighttown, the whole fucking thing runs at 15 frames a second. It's awful. And it sucks. It's unfortunate. It was this huge like open world type thing,
right?
And then the online in Demon Souls, Atlas published it, and they handled the servers, and it was awesome. It was perfect in my opinion. In Dark Souls. Bandai Namco published it, and the way they handled the servers was much different. To where when you logged in, Jesus Christ, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
JC just gave me this look of Satan.
I was
like, I don't...
breathing.
Okay.
Scrunching.
Damn, you're crazy breather, bro.
Yeah.
Couldn't get enough oxygen up in there.
In Dark Souls, like in Demon Souls, I could lay down a summon sign, and I could be like, hey, man. You know, there was no voice chat in it, but you could say, hey, I laid down my sign here to like a friend or something, like through text or some other external means. Be like, hey, you know, summon me and we'll do it together. Whereas in Dark Souls, as soon as you logged in, you were in one of tons of random servers. And so when your friend logged in, there's no guarantee he would even be able to be in that same server. So if you put down a sign and you say, hey, you know, my sign's here, it's like, oh, I don't see it. It's because you're not on the same server. And
so when you would have to log out and log back in,
and
just
try
open.
to, and it was basically impossible. Which maybe they did that purposely because at the core, it's not supposed to be played like that. It's supposed to have this like, you know, this random camaraderie,
right?
But you know,
yeah, I've heard the community behind that game is really awesome.
They're awesome, but the hardcore like community is also really awful at the same time.
Pretentious.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I beat it and I'm so great.
Oh, look at your armor. It sucks.
Yeah, you have the glass armor. That is crap.
That's
That's how they talk.
That's exactly right.
Oliver.
I don't know if that was very...
Oh yeah, I'm everybody who was beaten in Dark Souls, yeah.
Dude, Dark Souls is like the Dark Souls of Dark Souls.
It's like the Dark Souls of the Soul series.
Yeah.
I think. What do you think about Bloodborne? You think it'll be like the Dark Souls of the Dark Souls series?
It is a good game.
I'm so excited for Bloodborne. Yeah, you actually had played it, didn't you?
I have played it.
I just gushed about it for like 10 minutes. But
yeah, a buddy of mine platinumed both Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and I think he platinumed Dark Souls.
He must be a huge loser.
I'm a huge horror gamer. You know, I like.
You're a horror gamer.
A big horror gamer.
Horror.
It had its moments, like where I thought it was little.
It put me on edge.
Yeah.
The whole time.
That combat, it's very like.
And then when you do finally beat a boss, like you said, you're just like, yes, I did it. And then you take 10 steps, and you're like, oh shit, here we go again.
That intensity of like, okay, I need to find a bonfire. I need to like, because I do not want to do this again.
Is that your save spot?
Yeah, pretty much. But it just
not taking a shit like Travis touchdown.
No, it's not taking a shit. But that's why Dark Souls is just really special to me, and why it's just a really great game, and it's super special to me. Super special, awesome. Kyle.
Yes, sir.
What is your number one game of all time?
Of all time?
Of all time?
Of last gen.
Thank you.
Of all time of last gen is what I meant.
All right, guys. My favorite game of last gen is 999. Just kidding. I want to see JC have a meltdown. It's Last of Us, of course. For reasons that I don't even have to mean, but I do have to say, like Steve mentioned, you can say everything you want to about the single player, but I am a pretty anti-multiplayer guy, and I have put weeks and months probably into that multiplayer with Teef and JC, my brother-in-law Laramie and Story and Wayland and whoever.
Maybe like 3 hours in total with me.
Right. But dude, it's so good because that multiplayer plays just like the single player campaign. It's so smart. The story is told so well. Man, that game is just very special, and especially in the fact that it is hard. It's a challenging game. I mean, it's not. It's a game that you play by its rules. You know.
I feel like for like really OCD people, it becomes super easy because there was a time where I would loot everything and I would have like to where I couldn't pick something up, so I would go out of my way to make something to make room. And I had like max health kits and.
Well, what's crazy is like one of the main things that changes when you change the difficulty is like the chances of getting drops. Yeah. But
did that really hard mode where you can't have the listening mode?
That's what I'm going through it on right now, and
I can't even imagine that.
It's crazy. I'm in the Capitol building right now, and it is very stressful. So, but anyways, like I said, there's nothing really else to be said about The Last of Us that you haven't heard. But I think it does point out something very special that I think that's the only game that overlapped on this countdown for all of us.
Yeah.
It's on all 4 of our lists. You owe it to
How
yourself
do
to play
you
that
know?
game.
I mean-
It's a little too PS2 for me, though.
How do we know? JC, don't even try to.
JC, you literally just had a nervous
Oh,
breakdown
yeah.
because T put it at number 2. I'm pretty sure I know what your number 1 is.
Just
Teef.
unbelievable.
I have reasoning.
I don't think
Teef, let's hear that
Listen
reasoning. What's your
to-
number 1?
Listen to what I have to say.
Listen to my story.
Back when I was an Xbox 360 guy, which I don't own one anymore because I've seen the light, but all the Xbox 360.
The red
guys, I'm
light that
sorry.
flashed over
I
and
don't
over.
hate y'all, I love y'all. But actually, I had Xbox 360. My roommate had a PS3, and the second game I ever played on PS3 was Infamous, which was a really good one. But it was really close to being on this list. But the first game I ever did play on PlayStation 3 was Dead Space. So Dead Space is my number 1, and that's why. Last of Us, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, JC. Don't be upset with me. But Last of Us, the reason that it is such a great game is because of the multiplayer and the experience that I get to have with you guys. Dead Space was a personal, just me, and this console that I don't even own. And so when I did get the PlayStation 3, I got that game.
Well, and I feel like too, like with The Last of Us, it's Naughty Dog. You know it's going to be good. You expect it to be good.
Dead Space was this thing where it was like
it's like
surprisingly very good.
And see, that's my genre too. Those are my favorite types of games.
And I think Dead Space is the last good real survival horror game that just came out. Like that game is such and it's not.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it got more actiony as it went on.
And the story's good.
The story's
the
awesome.
gameplay. Yeah, later in the series, it gets more action.
But the first one was totally.
But the first one, it did it just right.
The Ishimura is. You want to talk about like settings? That setting is awesome.
Well,
It's very eerie.
It definitely proves it when like out of all 3 of those games, granted it's been out of print the longest, but like Dead Space 1's worth the most money. It sells for the most amount. There's more demand for that game out of that whole series.
I actually had it on my list as Last of Us as my number 1, but when it came down to it, because that's one of the main reasons I wanted to get a PS3 is because that was the first game I played on PS3. It's not an exclusive, but that was just the game that I played on my on a PlayStation 3, the first game ever. So
Infamous was almost on my list for the
it was it or 2, probably 1 was almost
and
on
definitely
my list
an honorable mention to say the least. But
yeah,
with Dead Space, real quick before we go on to the very much anticipated JC's number 1, apparently of all time according to me. Spoilers for Dead Space 2. Just
I'm okay with that.
How awesome was going back to the Ishimura in 2, dude? That was awesome. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this.
No, yeah.
I was like, please, God, no.
Which 2 gets a little more action packed, but it was
still pretty,
damn terrifying for sure. But when it comes to games that like being scared is one of my favorite things. I don't know why. I know that's a terrible feeling, being scared. But for a video game to do that to me is, like I said, when I made my top 5, it was all about what made me feel emotions. And that one was probably
for me, like that's probably my number 1 game that I really want to play that I know I just can't.
Like you physically,
I physically can't do scary stuff. Like I will that shit messes with me, dude.
It's psychologically.
And it has recordings that you can find, and like I would listen to them, because of they're messed up, and it's just like, oh my gosh. But Isaac Clarke, if we were doing a top 5 favorite characters, he would be in my top 5 too. So.
That poor guy.
Yes.
Yeah, poor guy.
Oh my God.
You really feel for him,
Yeah.
I've read through the whole story on Wikipedia just because I was I love
curious.
I love that story. It's so good, and I've never even played it.
It's been a while, and I just remembered that
It's been a while.
It's been a while. That was for you playing too. The fact that he was suddenly a speaking protagonist, was that weird for you? Because it was very weird for me.
It was because in the first one you don't ever really get to see him.
Yeah, you don't see him.
I mean, because
or-
of his armor and his mask, you know.
Yeah.
Which I think that armor is like, if we had to pick out like some of the
Super
most
rad.
badass like suits.
And the
like,
weapons are super creative.
Well, see, I watched
too.
you play it a little, and I think that's one of the things. Like, Teef, if you want to make like $5 an hour, come over to my house and just play Dead Space with the lights on. I'll listen to like Creed, and I'll watch you play it. I think I could actually do that.
I did. I played it over there. Grace was watching.
I know it. I
me,
was there, and that's what I saw. And like the gameplay, that game is really special.
And it looks good.
Yeah.
it's an early game. And
07-ish.
I think
I believe.
so.
Something like 0708. I think it's interesting just that whole mechanic of, in so many zombie-like games, whatever you want to say, it's shooting them in the head. That's what you're supposed to do.
And this
where
one was
it's
not.
that at all. And
Yeah.
now it seems like kind of novel because it's Dead Space has been a thing for a while. But when that came out, that was
Very
interesting.
unique,
That was
yeah.
awesome. And the fact that you could shoot
Oh, wait.
their arm off and then impale them, with their own spiky thing,
Right.
super awesome, super fun.
Wow, it took 3 years between Dead Space 1 and 2. And only 2 between 2 and 3.
I remember
think that
losing
proves
my
it.
shit over Dead Space 2. The trailer where it showed like the new armor, I was like, oh my god.
See, in 3 they have tons of different suits that you can wear, which is really cool. And the co-op is a lot of fun, but it's a very Gears of War feeling type of game, more action packed. But it's still
3.
intense.
And you play the co-op too?
Yes, I played the co-op, and I actually played with a buddy, and we were in the same room, and we both had our TVs in there.
Right.
And what's crazy about Dead Space 3 is the person who plays as the second player is an actual character, part of the story. It's not like playing as two Isaac Clarkes. There's a whole other guy. And I've only played through it once. I can't think of his name, but like there was stuff that would happen on my screen that wasn't happening on my friend's screen. Like because the second guy, he kind of starts losing his mind too, going through all this crap, just like Isaac Clarke. And like so, like a ghostly figure would like walk across my screen and be like, "Oh shit, did you see that?" And my friend would be like, "No, dude, I didn't see anything." And there'd be like blood all over my wall, and they're in his like hallway that he was walking down, like right next to me, is super like clean. So like he's like hallucinating, and it's very very creepy.
I think that's a really interesting dynamic and a way to like make it mess with the two players. Like especially if you're just online, it's like, dude, oh my god, do you see this?
Yeah, if you
No.
partied up with somebody who wasn't in the same room, that would really mess with you.
Yeah, like that's so. I
Really
did not
bad.
know about that until you told me that. Like that's. I think that's really cool. But
JC, do you forgive me for not putting The Last of Us as my number one?
Justin Carter.
No.
What's your middle name?
Oh,
Tate.
really?
What?
Tate.
Tate.
Taint?
It's just black.
Justin.
Oh, my social security number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Justin. Tate.
Mine's Kyle Reed.
Justin Wii Sports Resort. Carter.
Mine's Paul.
His is Kirk.
It is not.
It is
Justin
Kirk.
Kirk Ghost Hunter.
It's Kirk.
Yeah,
Kurt?
Justin Kirk. Like
Captain
Captain
Kirk.
Kirk.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
JC, are you emotionally like?
Distraught.
Do you want us just to say Last of Us and kill it, or what?
Do you want me to switch it? I'll switch it. Dead Space on number 2, Last of Us on my number 1.
No, I mean unless that'll make you happy, I guess. But
If it makes
ain't
you
gonna make me
happy.
Aw.
JC, what's your number one?
It doesn't. It's like it don't even matter anymore.
Not anymore. He doesn't even want to name it.
Okay.
Last of Us is my number 1.
Do you want to elaborate or?
No.
Okay.
Oh.
Bring us home, Virgil.
BB, big
I'll
baby
bring us
over
home.
there.
Well, guys, this has been great. I really liked this topic. Thank you again to Toad.
Yes, man. Thank you very
To
much.
Just Toad on Twitter at Videotoad for sending us this question. Remember, if you have any questions or topics you want talked about on the show, tweet at Super Turbo Games, and we'll be more than happy to throw it in here. Throw the tweet at us. We'll catch it, run to first base, and put it in the show. And
Yep,
we'll talk
throw it
about
back
it.
at
And
you.
hopefully by next time I'm on here, I'll have a Twitter.
Yeah.
Tweeter.
I mean, Tifa.
Tweet,
never
tweet.
mind. I won't even say it because one of the 20 people that listen to the show is going to take it.
Right.
If you've stuck with us for this long, God bless you.
Thank you.
You are a true fan, I guess. And I apologize for whatever.
Yeah, and thanks for having me again, guys.
Yeah,
Dude,
we
yeah,
had
it's
a
a
good
blast.
time
Thanks for
doing
coming.
this, so
It
thank you.
was great. Remember, you can follow me at Virgil Cerberus on Instagram and Twitter. You can
Or
follow-
me at Kyle_Eastman.
There he
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Oh yeah. And Teef, do you want me to plug what you will have yours as, or?
We'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna be yet.
Okay.
But I'll come
Next
up
time.
with something really cute.
Yeah. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, Super Turbo Games. We don't have a URL because we don't have 500 subscribers.
Tell your friends. We want to get to that point, please.
Yeah, and then we can actually have a URL. Right now, just look up Super Turbo Games on YouTube. You can subscribe to us. We got some Let's Plays. I'm working on a Dying Light review right now. I know it's kind of late, but hey, it's a good game. You should play it. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you guys next week.
The eyes of the Ranger are upon you.
Yes, they are.